All right, we're recording. All right, so happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to our reading of The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, my personal favorite of the series. Very funny stuff. We have a fabulous cast here tonight. Um, a lot of them returning from their roles from the first one. We have Travis to my left playing Nordberg, played by the great O.J. Simpson in the movies. Uh, Travis is also playing a bunch of other people for us. We're all going to be playing multiple roles tonight. Logan is going to be playing Captain Ed Hawken, played by the great George Kennedy in the films. He's also going to play Dr. Meinheimer and also the fake Dr. Meinheimer. So if you haven't seen the movie, spoilers alert. We also have Jennifer, who has no idea what the hell's going on right now, playing a lot of great parts for us tonight and also doing our scene description. We have Eric playing a new bad guy this time, Quentin Habsburg, played by the great Robert Goulet in the movie. And he's also going to be playing President Bush for us tonight, President H.W. Bush. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Anne returning as Jane and also playing Winnie Mandela and a bunch of other people for us tonight. So, yeah, let's do this. Whenever you're ready, Jennifer, let's take it away.
All right. The Naked Gun, 2.5, The Smell of Fear. Fade up, exterior, the White House, establishing. Interior, the White House, formal dining room. The table is set for guests to mingle and chat. Dignitaries dressed in formal evening wear. An August gathering. A White House social aide is stationed at the door. As various dignitaries pass by, they are announced. 4 Marine ushers escort the guests to their tables.
Police Commissioner of the District of Columbia, Captain Annabelle Brumford.
A very stern-looking woman in conservative attire steps down into the dining area as a distinguished-looking Black couple appear at the door.
Nelson and Winnie Mandela.
They pass by. There is a pause.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and Mrs. Bush.
Hail to the chief fills the room. Camera dollies in. The guests stand as President Bush with Barbara at his side, and 2 Secret Servicemen are just about to enter the room. They are about to pass by a door marked Men when it swings open suddenly, hitting Barbara right in the face. Lieutenant Frank Drebin, oblivious, falls into step alongside the president, smiling to the guests who stare at him in disbelief. In the background, there is a mad scramble by the security people to get Mrs. Bush on her feet. Frank introduces himself to the other guests. Finally, Mrs. Bush is on her feet and she says she's fine. She and George enter the room.
Please be seated.
Frank pulls the chair out for a pretty lady. Unfortunately, it is the chair Barbara Bush is about to sit on. She falls backwards, grabbing onto the tablecloth and taking a lot of the dishes, candles, and flowers with her. Frank goes to her aid, but ends up hitting heads with a security serviceman. Barbara is being helped up by Commissioner Brumford. As she bends forward to get to her feet, Frank picks up 2 candles, which are now unlit. The timing is just right. That is just real bad for Commissioner Brumford. Frank pokes her in the eyes with the candles. Frank is real sorry, but manages to poke a woman in the rear end with the candle. A Secret Service man wrestles the candles from Frank's hands. Order is now quickly restored. Servants have miraculously straightened the table out. Everyone is seated. Frank is seated between Barbara Bush and Commissioner Brumford.
Welcome. I'm glad you all could come. I'm pleased to see that we're graced with the presence of so many distinguished guests tonight.
Frank has been watching a man closely.
Ed, just a second there, buddy.
He angrily grabs a cigar out of a man's mouth. He holds it up.
Don't you know this is a Cuban cigar? With the money you spent on this, you just bought 1 bullet for Castro.
Mr. Drebin.
Just a second, Your Eminence. I can handle this. I want you out of my sight, you disgusting lowlife.
Mr. Drebin, he's the Cuban ambassador to the United Nations.
Ah, well.
As you all know, this is a law enforcement week across the country, so I'd like to turn the proceedings over to our Washington, D.C. Police Commissioner, Captain Annabelle Brumford.
She rises to acknowledge a nice applause. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like Now to introduce a most distinguished American. This week he's being honored for his 1,000th drug dealer killed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lieutenant Frank Drebin of the Police Squad. Nice applause. Frank rises to acknowledge the applause.
I should point out the last two I backed over with my car. Luckily, they turned out to be drug dealers.
The guests are not quite sure just what to make of this. Frank sits down, pleased with himself. Lieutenant Drebin and the police squad will be in Washington, D.C. this week on a special mission to assist our local police in new methods of law enforcement. A smattering of applause for this announcement. Frank spots the name tag of Winnie Mandela, who is seated across from him. He leans over to whisper to her.
I caught your show at the Apollo in '68. You were incredible.
She looks at him blankly. Commissioner Brumford, overhearing this, glares at Frank, appalled. She slowly sinks back into her chair.
I believe you have confused me with the American R&B group Martha and the Vandellas.
You didn't do He's So Fine?
That was the Chiffons.
Thank you, Commissioner Brumford. And I would like to call on my Chief of Staff, Mr. John Sununu, to introduce some special guests.
Angle on Sununu, he rises to address the gathering.
Mr. President, tonight I am extremely proud to welcome our guests from the nation's energy suppliers. First, representing the oil industry, Mr. Terrence Baggett, a head of Society of Petroleum Industry Leaders.
He rises to a smattering of applause and then sits back down. In front of him is a place card with the letters SPIL.
From the coal industry, Mr. Donald Fenswick, chairman of the Society of More Coal Energy.
He stands up to applaud, sits down. His place card reads SMOKE.
And from the nuclear industry, president of the Key Atomic Benefits of Mankind, Mr. Arthur Dunwell.
His placard reads KABOOM. More applause. The food is served. Lobsters for everyone. Frank is given an enormous lobster, a 10-pounder. He's fitted with a bib. Frank doesn't quite know where to start on this humongous morsel. Frank's having a tough time with the lobster.
Now, as you know, for the past 3 years, this administration has been trying to formulate a national energy policy, one that will have a lasting impact on the way we all live for the next decade and beyond.
Frank tackles the lobster with the nutcracker. This cracking noise drowns out Sununu. This guy Drebin is starting to annoy him.
To make sure that we choose the right path, the president has appointed his top advisor in this area, Dr. Albert S. Mannheimer.
Angle on Dr. Mannheimer, a distinguished graying scientist in his 60s, seated in a wheelchair, waves to acknowledge applause. Another angle. Frank is wrestling with pulling the meat out of the claw. Unwittingly, he has maneuvered the second claw into position just below Commissioner Brumford's right breast. Ow. When Frank moves one claw, the other snaps open and closed with embarrassing results. She tries to avoid the aggressive claw to no avail.
As I'm sure you're all aware, his reputation in this field is without peer. Dr. Mannheimer will present his recommendations at the annual National Press Club dinner on Tuesday evening. Mr. President.
Sununu sits back down. Frank dipping pieces of lobster into butter. A lot of butter. At one point, the lobster falls into the butter dish, splattering the guests. He has to retrieve it. His hands are becoming soaked in butter, and Bush tries to speak.
I would like all of you here to be the first to know that I intend to base my entire administration's energy policy on Dr. Mannheimer's recommendations.
Surprised applause from the guests. Sununu is quite surprised by this last statement. Baggett, Fenswick, and Dunwell look at each other uneasily. Sununu glances at them and shrugs. Frank tries to pick up a lemon. It squirts out of his buttery hands. Nelson Mandela, the lemon hits him square in the forehead. He smiles politely. Commissioner Brumford, the lemon lands in her soup.
Mr. President, if I may say so, I do hope that Dr. Mannheimer won't be influenced by all the so-called environmental groups.
With great force, Frank dislodges another piece of meat from the claw. However, as he pulls out the meat, his elbow catches Barbara Bush in the face. Her head snaps back violently and the chair goes over.
I think perhaps Dr. Mannheimer is best qualified to explain his research methods. Dr. Mannheimer?
He backs up and swivels to face an easel holding a graph entitled Energy Research Methods.
Well, Mr. President, I'd like to call your attention to the graph right here that addresses that very question.
Frank, looking around, only Barbara's feet are visible above the table. Secret Service agents rush to her aid.
As you'll notice here, our research covered every possible energy source.
In the background, Mrs. Bush comes at Frank with a knife. Well, that escalated quickly. Several Secret Service men struggled to force the knife out of her hand.
There were thousands of man hours were spent poring over millions of bits of information, which, if laid end to end,
Dissolve 2, big music, the Naked Gun theme, Bond-like credits. Main title reads, The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, from the novel, A Boat Ride for Billy by Mary Margaret Penniman. The credits involve underwater Bondian images. Lots of obese, naked women, backed by the theme sung brassy and macho Engelbert Humperdinck style, repeating the insipid chorus. It's the Naked Gun 2.5. Fade up. Exterior Mannheimer Energy Research Institute. An impressive complex. A light rain is falling. Across the street, a red van is parked at the curb, its engine idling. Interior office. Jake Spencer stares out the window towards the van. Oh, I'm sorry, Jane, not Jake. Ooh, girl, sorry. Jane's POV van. A swarthy man climbs into the van and drives away. Resume on Jane. But tonight, Jane's thoughts are 1,000 miles away. Her apparent sadness, ironically, only seems to enhance her haunting beauty. Her glance drifts downward toward her hands. She's clutching a tattered photograph. Insert photograph. It's the picture of Frank Drebin lying on top of the Queen, cut out from the newspaper. Resume Jane. A tear creases her eye. She wipes it away gently with a tissue, then wrings it out into a mop bucket. It's almost full. The door behind her opens to reveal Dr. Mannheimer, kindly fatherly, enters in a wheelchair. Jane quickly dries her tears.
Oh, Dr. Mannheimer, you're back early.
and you're here late. Surely a lovely young woman such as you could find a better way to spend a Saturday night.
She breaks down, starts to cry, and Mannheimer takes her hand.
I'm sorry, my dear. I didn't mean to be so blunt.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
You're thinking about him again, aren't you? What was his name? Frank? Just can't forget about him, can you? Frank.
Oh, yes, no, I can't. I try, but when you've had that much man. But then you wouldn't understand.
Mannheimer gives a look. Maybe he has.
Jane, don't be so hard on yourself. You've done a wonderful job here at the Institute. You're the finest public relations director we've ever had.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. I'm trying my best.
But I see you here night after night, past 10. You've got to forget about the past. Go out, see new people, enjoy yourself.
Well, I have been seeing someone.
Angle on the door. The night janitor enters to collect wastebaskets.
Evening, Miss Spencer, Dr. Mannheimer.
Hello, Norm.
Hello, Norm.
Jane suddenly turns back to Mannheimer.
Oh, I completely forgot. How was the White House dinner?
Angle on the janitor. He's emptying baskets into a big hamper. Something heavy flops out of a basket marked white paper only.
Extraordinary. The president promised to implement whatever recommendations I make.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Angle on the janitor. He clears the shredded paper away, revealing a ticking clock mounted on 10 sticks of dynamite. Intrigued, he picks it up and exits the room.
Unfortunately, there was another guest that caused such a ruckus that I'm afraid no one heard the president.
Interior lobby security desk. A few janitors and security guards are hanging out having coffee. Norm approaches with his find. He plunks it down on the countertop. Damn it, Norm.
Travis, you're Norm.
Yes,
Norm!
I found this in the wastebasket.
Everyone gathers around to peer at it.
That's a pretty nice clock.
The clock! It continues to tick loudly. The hands show 5 minutes to 12.
I wonder why they threw it out.
Guard number 2 glances at the wall clock showing 12 midnight.
Oh, because it's 5 minutes too slow. Here, let me fix it.
He takes the bomb from Norm and begins to correct the time. Exterior Mannheimer Research Institute night. A nice little pause, then kaboom! Fireworks. Interior police car. Frank is driving through city streets.
My name is Detective Lieutenant Drebin, police squad. I was in the middle of getting my car washed.
Exterior Frank's car covered with foaming bubbles, rags, spray bottles, lengths of yellow vacuum hose trail out the doors. A car wash attendant clings to the rear deck, still wiping the back window.
When I heard the call over the police scanner, there had been a bombing in Georgetown, and I was on my way to advise the DC police as a part of the president's code named Operation Scum Roundup.
Exterior Mannheimer Research Institute, establishing shot, interior lobby. Frank enters, walking past a few typical chalk outlines of bodies on the floor, including an Egyptian. Then past outlines of scattered limbs, arms, legs, etc. Covered bodies lie in various positions about the room. Photographers are taking photos. One of the pictures they take is of several officers in a group posing. Other police search for clues. Plainclothes man Nordberg sees something on the carpet. He takes out an evidence bag and picks up the lint fiber with a pair of tweezers.
Bloodstains, Nordberg?
No, the wife and I are redecorating, and I thought this might look real nice with beige wallpaper.
Captain Ed Hawken is assisting DC police at the busy scene. He sees Frank.
Frank, glad you're here.
I got here as quick as I could. Oh, by the way, I understand Ed is pregnant again.
Yeah, and if I catch the guy who did it.
Nordberg enters, interrupts Ed, leaving Frank to ponder that last one.
Captain, they finished searching the building. There's no sign of a break-in and no money missing.
Frank casually looks up. Frank's POV ceiling. There are more chalk marks of bodies on the ceiling and some more on the walls.
But it sure was one hell of an explosion. Looks like they were trying to get into the Pepsi machine.
Ed is looking on as another body is covered up in front of him and wheeled away. Frank seems to be a bit taller than Ed.
Where are the other victims?
You're standing on one right now, Frank.
Angle, Frank is standing on a dead security guard's chest.
Oh, I see.
Frank peers under a blanket on a sofa behind Ed. He winces at the sight.
Oh, this one's a real mess.
Ed turns around to see what Frank is talking about. His eyes widen.
Hey, over here. Frank found another one.
Detectives and photographers converge on the body.
Any witnesses, Ed?
Well, there was one, a woman. She saw a man leaving just before the explosion. But I think you should let Nordberg handle this one.
No, I better do it while it's still fresh.
Not now, Frank.
And Frank walks towards the foreground. Ed takes one more stab at it.
Yeah, she fainted dead away. Took a nasty knock on the head. She looks pretty bad, Frank.
Ed indicates off camera.
I can handle it.
He walks over to Quasimodo, who is seated.
Ma'am, I just want to ask you a few questions about...
Not that bad, Frank. That's her over there with the sketch artist.
Frank looks up to where Ed is pointed. Frank's POV, it's Jane looking ravishing in a seductive outfit. She's talking to the police sketch artist who's busy sketching. Frank is stunned.
I couldn't believe it. It was her. It was like a dream, but there she was, just like I remembered her.
Jane is now shown in slow motion. Her hair is blowing gently in the wind. Like
That
she's
delicately beautiful face, and a body that could melt a cheese sandwich from across the room, and breasts that seemed to say, hey, look at these. She was the kind of woman that made you want to drop to your knees and thank God you were a man. Yep, she reminded me of my mother, all right, no doubt about it.
He stares at her transfixed.
Frank, snap out of it. You're looking at her like she was your mother, for Christ's sakes.
Jane spots Frank. Frank is quite uncomfortable. The hurt is all coming back. Jane is more adjusted to the breakup, but Frank, though playing it cool, still holds bitterness.
Frank,
Jane, I didn't know you lived here.
I moved here 2 years ago.
How are the children?
We didn't have any children.
Ah, yes, of course.
How was your prostate operation?
Fine, I'm good as new. In fact, I'm better than ever.
She realized Frank is tortured.
Look, Frank, I know this is awkward, but I hope you're not still obsessed with our relationship.
Obsessed? Who's obsessed? Just because you backed out of the wedding 2 years ago? I've forgotten all about it. It's ancient history, like the Democratic Party.
Frank, get a hold of yourself.
This man was in tears at the church, crying like a baby.
Frank,
I had to return 13 Cuisinarts.
that's enough, Frank, really.
Meinheimer enters in a wheelchair. Jane sees him.
Oh, Dr. Meinheimer. Frank, this is Dr. Albert Meinheimer.
Frank goes to shake his hand.
Don't get up. Nice to meet you.
Likewise, but I believe we've met before
Frank looks puzzled.
at the White House dinner.
He never forgets a face. He has a photographic memory.
Meinheimer looks around at the destruction.
It's a terrible thing that's happened to you, Lieutenant. I do hope you find the people responsible.
Oh, I'm sorry I can't be more optimistic, Doctor, but we've got a long road ahead of us. It's like having sex. It's a painstaking and arduous task that seems to go on and on forever. And just when you think things are going your way, nothing happens.
Right, Frank. But now, Jane, about this man you saw last night. Anything can help.
I gave your sketch artist the description.
Frank takes the pad away from the sketch artist and he shows it to Ed. Insert sketch. It's of Jane standing by the window with greatly exaggerated breasts. The dress she's wearing is torn and teasingly revealing spots.
That'll be all, McTeague. Ed, why don't we have that other artist, the one that never dates and lives with those two guys?
Right. Patterson?
Ed leaves through McTeague's other sketches, which include Jane in a very revealing Brazilian thong bikini. Brazilian, yeah, that's apparently how you pronounce that word now, according to Jen. Jane in gladiator clothing locked in a combat with another woman. And finally, Jane with a tail and serpent's tongue wielding a whip at a trussed up McTeague.
Jane, I think I'd like to have a look around at the Institute now. That is, if it's all right with Dr. Meinheimer.
Why, of course. You start with the research area.
Jane and Meinheimer exit through some double doors. Ed takes Frank aside.
Frank, I think it's time to transfer McTeague to the motor pool.
Frank and Ed exit following Jane and Meinheimer. Interior research area. They come through doors onto a catwalk. A sign says hard hat area.
Now, Jane, what can you tell us about the man you saw last night?
Jane hands hard hats to everyone and they resume walking.
He's Caucasian.
Caucasian?
Yeah, a white guy. Mustache, about 5'10".
It's an awfully big mustache.
They come to a portion of the catwalk overlooking a busy laboratory area. Lots of machinery, men in lab coats, and elaborately protective clothing handling dangerous substances with tongs.
What's all this?
This is our research laboratory. There are hundreds of delicate experiments going on, all temperature controlled by the machinery just below us.
Frank looks over the rail. His hard hat falls off and into the delicate gears. Lots of sparks.
Many of our scientists have spent years on their experiments and are just now getting close to major breakthroughs.
They start to leave.
Today, they're getting ready to join two genetically altered compounds that have never before been combined.
They exit through double doors back to the lab area. Frank, not sure what to do. A flying loose gear whizzes by him, embedding itself in the wall. He discreetly exits. Interior lobby.
Thank heavens the bomb didn't damage our research area.
Frank enters and approaches Jane and Meinheimer.
Jane, I think you ought to know about something.
Suddenly, they're interrupted by a voice.
Darling.
Quentin!
Oh, shoot, that's me. Quentin Habsburg enters. Handsome, dashing, rich, fingernails glistening. Come on, Manny Petty. A huge monogrammed handkerchief hanging out of his jacket pocket. A GQ ad if there ever was one.
Jane, darling, you all right? I was so worried about you.
He kisses her hand. She's buying this.
I'm really okay, but I'm glad you're here.
Frank is fuming. Who is this dork?
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Frank, this is Quentin Habsburg of the Hexagon Oil Company.
Pleased to meet you, Mr.
Drebin, Frank Drebin. I believe I've used some of your restrooms.
Berg is not sure how to take this.
Are you connected in some way with the Institute?
Not officially, but as a matter of fact, Jane and I have been seeing quite a lot of each other lately.
He puts his arm around her, gives her a little tug at the waist.
How is my little held cat?
Frank is shocked, but he recovers.
Oh, well, that's great. I've been dating too. Nice girl, an author. She wrote the book on male sexual dysfunction. You probably read it.
Habsburg, insulted, scowls at Frank and takes a step forward. Jane quickly intercedes.
I beg your pardon.
Frank, please.
No, it's all right. We can handle this situation maturely, just like the responsible adults that we are. Isn't that right, Mr. Poopy Pants?
That does it!
Frank! Quentin, maybe you should excuse us.
Anything you wish, my darling. Till tonight, then?
He kisses her hand and exits. They're interrupted by a honking alarm and a flashing red light over the double doors behind them. The doors burst open and several panic-stricken technicians run past.
Dennis, what's wrong?
Some asshole dropped his hard hat into one of the generators. Dennis runs off, panic-stricken. Frank is anxious to get going.
Well, I think we've got enough information for one day, and I see you're very busy. You seem to have some sort of problem in your research area.
Behind them, a scientist runs to shut the door, or tries to shut the door on some horrendous ooze.
Where's your hat, Frank?
I hung it up on a hook back there.
A man rushes past them. His head is on fire!
Well, let's keep in touch. Dr. Meinheimer?
Frank?
He looks into her eyes for a moment.
I won't be bothering you anymore. I hope you're happy.
Frank exits. Jane looks after him wistfully. A technician runs past. Green ooze attacking his face! Oh my God, it's mutating! He's gone. Exterior of the mall. We pan from the brightly lit Lincoln Memorial to establish the Blue Note Bar. Outside is a government sign with arrows pointing in opposite directions for the Lincoln Memorial and for the Blue Note Bar. Interior, the Blue Note Bar. Dimly lit, a torch singer wails away to piano accompaniment. 9 shot glasses sit empty on the piano. The singer sings into the mic, watching Scotty grow. Sorry, I just vomited in my mouth a little bit. Camera pans past lonely people at booths staring down into their drinks. On the walls are pictures of 1, the San Francisco earthquake, 2, the Hindenburg disaster, 3, the Titanic going stern down into the water, and 4, a smiling Michael Dukakis. Camera finally comes to rest on Frank, slumped over, staring down at his drink. Henri, the waiter, approaches.
Sir,
Give me the strongest thing you got.
Henri beckons over a big muscle man.
On second thought, how about a Black Russian?
very well, sir.
Henri starts to exit, but stops, looks in the camera and shakes his head. No. Then exits. Angle. Ed enters. He looks for and finds Frank.
Why don't you sit down, Ed? Pull up a memory or two.
Before I can talk to you.
Is it just my imagination, Ed, or is the whole world crazy?
A bartender type wearing an apron brings a tall, fruity drink.
A small percentage of the population, Frank.
The bartender heads back to his bar. We see from behind he is totally bare-assed.
Well, I guess you're right, Ed. It's just that I don't know if I fit in anymore.
Still thinking about Jane, aren't you?
Frank's drink is filled with celery sticks, umbrellas, swizzle sticks, orange slices, lemons, cherries, etc. 2 shrimps perch on opposite sides of the glass. Frank can't figure out how to drink from this thing.
She's a part of my life, Ed. Always will be. I think about her constantly. When I'm making love to a woman, I see her face. I know it isn't fair to the woman I'm with, so I just think about Oral Hershiser. Needless to say, it doesn't work, but my curveball is a lot better. But it's done. The minute I heard her say, "Get out of my life forever," I knew it was over.
I always thought you two were so good together. Of course, I thought you and Rosalind were great. Then Marcia, Lily, Diane, of course, King Lee and Chow Lee and
Siamese twins, right. Moonlit nights, and we used to walk hand in hand in hand. Sometimes I think about you and Ed. That's why I envy you, Ed. You have someone. You've had that same person every day for over 30 years. You wake up with her.
These are things Ed doesn't necessarily find that wonderful. He mouths, 30 years, like it's been a prison sentence.
I mean, you eat with her, you sleep with her, you make love to that same woman. You spend every possible waking moment together while I'm out with some 20-year-olds
Ed could scream out with jealousy.
who just want a good time and cheap sex, sex, sex. Girls who can't get enough, girls who can't say no. More, more, more. Now it's your turn with the handcuffs. I want to love, Ed. Love.
Ed's all but worked up into a lather, lots of foam.
I'm sure you'll find love, Frank.
Henry brings over a drink.
Oh, I've already got one, thanks.
The lady.
Angle, Jane is seated at a table, the candlelight casting a warm, romantic glow on her face.
Go to her, Frank. Go on. I'll see you in the morning.
Frank takes his drink over to her table. Ed, happy to see them together, exits the bar. Frank walks over to her. On the way, he gets turned around by several people who are leaving. Frank sits at her table. He looks into his drink and speaks from the heart.
Look, this isn't easy to say. I'm lonely. I'm lost. I need someone. I need someone to hold, to love.
Frank? Frank, over here.
We reveal Frank is at the wrong table. He has been speaking at a very confused and upset Longhorseman. Shoreman?
Longshoreman.
Well
What's
then.
a longhorseman?
I don't want to know.
Longshoreman. Oh, God. Walk over here.
Is that a drink?
Copy. He sits at Jane's table.
What are you doing here?
I called the hotel. Got no answer. Then I tried the station house. I thought maybe you'd be here.
Angle on the pianist who's playing next to them.
Oh, evening, Sam.
Mr. Drebin! Jane! Always nice to see nice people!
Sam, play our song. Just one more time.
Of course.
And he plays.
Ding dong! The witch is dead! Witch oh witch! The wicked witch!
That's enough, Sam. Why don't you play the other one, please? You just can't let old hurts die, can you? You walked out of my life. No explanation.
Didn't you get the letters I sent you?
Everyone. I never opened any of them. I just tore them up and threw them into the fire.
Then you didn't get the check for $75,000 your uncle left you in his will.
Why are you here?
I remembered something about the crime. As I was looking out the window, I could see a red van parked across the street.
A red van. Well, thank you. It could prove helpful. You've said your piece. Time to go, right?
That's not my only reason for being here. Frank, I want us to be friends.
Sure, friends. I bet if I dusted you for Prince right now, they'd be your lover boy, Quentin Habsburgs.
She starts to slap him. He deftly intercepts it with his left hand, holding her wrist in midair.
Well, I see a certain kitten still knows how to scratch.
She swings with her other hand. He grabs that one. Whack! A third hand gets him. He's puzzled.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Frank, we were no good together. All you lived for was your police work.
Yeah, and you were always busy trying to save the end zone layer.
Ozone. You never tried to understand, Frank.
How can you say that? I sank every penny I had into buying that 1,000 acres of Brazilian rainforest. Then I had it slashed and burned just so we could build our dream house.
Jane's expression says it all.
Oh, Frank, how could you be so insensitive?
Insensitive? You think it was easy displacing an entire tribe? You should try it sometime.
She stands up.
I better go. This was a mistake. I don't know why I came. I was hoping you'd be happy, that you'd have someone.
She starts to walk away. Frank stands up and calls after her.
Well, I'm single. I love being single. I haven't had this much sex since I was a Boy Scout leader.
Everyone in the bar stares at Frank.
I mean, at the time, I was dating a lot.
Dissolve 2. Exterior city streets. Frank's lonely montage. Frank walks down a lonely street. A matte shot of the Capitol in the background. The song Only the Lonely plays to underscore his sadness. As he walks, he passes by loving couples holding hands, one couple, then 2, 3, 10, then a horde of lovers. Frank makes his way through them and is almost crushed as he does. He can't understand where everyone is coming from. He walks past the statue of Rodin's The Kiss. There seems to be an endless supply of lovers in the heat of passion. A woman rips her lover's toupee off and throws it away. Frank passes by 2 army cots on the sidewalk with lovers under the covers. A couple lies on the hood of a car and necks passionately. Now the sidewalk is littered with couples. Frank has to carefully pick his way through it all. Even a department store window bedroom display has a man and a woman in the heat of mad passion. Frank walks forlornly through frame, past the Statue of Liberty. Exterior docks, waterfront, a huge warehouse building. The sign says Warehouse 39. Interior warehouse office. Seated around a table are representatives from Smoke, Spill, and Kaboom. The same group we saw at the White House, but now with various aides present. The place is in an uproar.
I told you the bombing wouldn't work. What do you suppose we're going to do now?
We had no choice. Take a look at this.
Dunwell hands the paper to Fenswick.
President to give Meinheimer blank check at press club dinner.
Fenswick hands the paper to Baggett, who reads it.
So the president's gonna do whatever this guy says.
Insert newspaper. A smaller headline reads, Elvis spotted buying home in Aspen.
That speech is in 2 days. Either we come up with something or we don't have a prayer.
Don't you think I know that?
Pandemonium, they all shout at once.
Gentlemen, gentlemen.
The room quiets. Everyone sits down. Camera reveals Habsburg, standing at the head of the table.
Gentlemen, I know you're all worried. And I agree. There's plenty to be worried about.
He steps over to a large picture on the wall, acres and acres of rows of parabolic mirrors.
Like this solar power plant. It's already operational outside Los Angeles and provides enough electricity to supply a city the size of Denver.
They all gasp. Habsburg shows them a piece of thin plastic film. They pass it around, examining it.
Photovoltaic cells. They convert sunlight directly into electricity.
The PV cell drops from Dunwell's hands. His jaw drops in horror. Habsburg holds up a light bulb.
Fluorescent. Lasts 10 times as long as a conventional light bulb. Uses only a quarter of the power.
He motions to a super window.
Super windows. They insulate as well as 10 sheets of glass and can save twice as much fuel as we get from Alaska. An electric car.
He motions casually to an electric car parked inexplicably near the table.
This one is partially powered by built-in solar panels, and it's 95% less polluting than a gasoline engine car.
He stops, puts both hands on the table, and leans into his colleagues.
But the truth is, gentlemen, I'm not worried about any of these things. And you know why?
The execs lean forward to better hear.
Because the American people are never going to know about them.
A beat. Stunned silence. Baggett breaks it.
But what about Menheimer in his report?
Good question. Why don't we just ask him?
Confused looks, then audible gasps from the execs as Hector Savage wheels out a bound and gagged Dr. Meinheimer. A goon puts a Denver boot on the wheel.
What about Tuesday evening, his speech?
Dr. Meinheimer will deliver his speech. Our Dr. Meinheimer.
Habsburg gestures to off-screen, confused looks, then audible gasps as an exact double for Dr. Meinheimer wheels himself into the room.
Good evening, gentlemen. It is my view that solar power will be viable 50 years in the future. So for now, we must rely on coal, oil, and nuclear power.
He smiles smugly.
Very good, Doctor. Why don't you stand up and take a bow?
Meinheimer rises to his feet. More gasps.
Gentlemen, meet Earl Hacker, former arts consultant to Jesse Helms.
Everyone is shocked.
As I've made it clear to Mr. Habsburg, My fee is $500,000. Half to be paid now, the other half due after my speech.
As he speaks, he removes his glasses, mustache, and his goatee.
And might I add, I'm worth every penny of it. Gentlemen, you don't have a choice.
They're all trapped. They're stuck with this guy. Fake Meinheimer removes his short gray hair. As he pulls it off, a long mane of black hair cascades down to his shoulders. Big music sting. The plot has thickened. So has your hair. Exterior DC police station. Oh my God, I'm crying. Frank drives up, rear-ending a four-door sedan, revealing a sign, police commissioner parking only. Their car in turn bumps a cement truck. The cement truck dislodges, flopping into the car's open sunroof. The cement starts down the chute, filling up the unoccupied car. Frank, preoccupied, walks towards the station entrance.
I was hoping we'd get a break on the mysterious explosion at the Institute.
Interior DC police station day. A tense moment. Some drug-crazed maniac has broken from his handcuffs, which we see dangling from one wrist. He has police revolver pointed at the room. Ed, Norberg, and the others have their hands in the air. I'm in charge now, aren't I? Yeah. I'm the one who's going to determine life and death. Not one of you pigs. No. Me. Bobby Herbeck. Bobby Herbeck, your judge, jury, and fucking executioner. Say your prayers. At that moment, Frank opens the door. It swings open and knocks out the druggie. Bye. Police rush to subdue him. Frank is oblivious to it all.
Nice work, Frank.
Huh?
Ted was just about to show us the lab results from the Research Institute, Frank.
Ah, so what do we got, Ted?
We weren't able to get any clean fingerprints, Frank, but we did find fingerprints outside the Research Institute. We made plaster cases out of them.
Ted shows Frank and Ed the casts of the footprint.
A size 9.5D. We're running a trace on it.
He produces another much bigger plaster footprint.
But even more interesting, Frank, we also found this single dinosaur footprint, a major find from the Paleolithic period.
Frank is impressed.
Anything else, Ted?
Yes, about 20 feet down from that spot, we discovered ancient timbers, which we believe may be part of Noah's Ark.
That's great, Ted, but
I'll be departing tomorrow for Boston, where I'll be delivering a major address to the American Archaeological Society, and I'm booked on Geraldo next week.
you're going on Geraldo because of this?
Geraldo, yes. No, my wife is a transsexual Satan worshiper.
Frank ponders this.
But meanwhile, we'll be continuing the fingerprints analysis, fiber checks, DNA breakdown, hair samples, then using the microscopic, dirt particles on the footprint. It's a matter of green geological breakdown of the entire city.
Ted, we might not have that kind of time.
Then maybe this will help. We found his wallet on the curb outside the Institute.
He hands it to Frank. Insert social security card. Name, Hector Savage. Ooh, sounds like Barrage. I'm sorry. Whatever. Same shit. Music sting. Also a picture of Savage as a boxer in typical boxing pose.
I think it's Hector Savage from Detroit.
Savage!
Hey, I remember this pug. An ex-boxer. Real name was Joey Chicago.
Oh, yeah, he fought under the name of Kid Minneapolis.
Ed takes the wallet and starts to look through it.
I saw Kid Minneapolis fight once in Cincinnati.
Oh, you're thinking of Kid New York. He fought out of Philly.
Good fighter. He was killed in the ring in Houston by Tex Colorado. You know, the Arizona assassin.
Oh yeah, from Dakota. I can't remember if it was north or south.
North. South Dakota was his brother from West Virginia.
You certainly know your boxing.
Well, all I know is never bet on the white guy. Is there an address in there?
All I got here is a card. It says Monique DiCarlo, 210 Bleakman Street.
Frank sees the address.
That's the red light district, Ed. I wonder why Savage is hanging around down there.
Sex, Frank?
No, not right now, Ed. We've got work to do.
Music sting! Exterior DC police station. An auto road serviceman jackhammers the hardened concrete inside the sedan as a steaming mad police commissioner Brumford looks on. In the background, Frank, Ed, and Nordberg climb into Frank's car and peel out. Interior, Frank's police car day. Frank is driving. Ed and Nordberg are passengers.
The address we were given from Monique DiCarlo was in a part of the city known as Little Italy.
In the background, we see process shots of the Roman Colosseum.
We hope that this could be the lead that could bring us to Hector Savage.
Exterior, Le Sex Shop. Frank, Ed, and Nordberg pull up in front of it. Interior, Le Sex Shop. Savage sees Frank pulling up front.
That's the cops. You gotta get rid of them. You gotta get rid of them.
Sorry. Okay, we're back.
I didn't know it was me, so. All right, I'll handle it quick. Hide in the basement. You'll be safe down there.
She opens the door, steps lead down to the basement, and he walks in. And she closes the door on him just a bit too soon. We hear him yell as he does a header down the steps and into garbage cans. Monique, she winces, tiptoes away from the door. He's gonna be mad look on her face. Exterior, Le Sex Shop. Frank, Ed, and Nordberg exit the car. Frank spots a red van parked in the alley.
A red van. Jane said she saw a red van outside the Institute the night of the explosion.
Good. Let's take him down.
No, he's not working alone. Let's put a bug on the car, see where he goes.
Good thinking, Frank. Nordberg?
No problem.
As Frank and Ed exit frame, Nordberg takes a bugging device and a mechanic's dolly from the trunk of the car. Interior, Le Sex Shop. Frank and Ed enter. Monique stands behind the counter. She looks at them expectantly, her plunging neckline displaying a monumental cleavage. Frank, he flips open his wallet, exposing his badge. The motion was so strong, the badge flies out of the wallet and embeds in a display case post. He extracts the badge.
Frank Drebin of Police Squad. This is my captain, Ed Hawken.
Is this some kind of bust?
Frank, eyeing her cleavage.
Well, it's very impressive, yes, but we need to ask you a few questions.
Exterior alley. Nordberg slides under the red van on the mechanic's dolly. Under the red van, Nordberg jams his feet under the frame to act as a brake. Using a wrench, he starts to attach the device. A bolt comes off. Oil spills out onto his face. It gets in his mouth and he is gargling Pennzoil. He attempts to push away from trouble. In doing so, he breaks the exhaust pipe. Soot falls on him. He bangs his wrench at the pipe to get it out of the way. Major sparks erupt as he has ruptured an electrical line. He repairs it as best as he can and quickly tries to attach the tracking device, knocking off a lot of mud from under the frame as he hammers away. Interior, Le Sex Shop. Ed and Frank are inspecting the many sexual devices on display. Dildos and vibrators abound, all kinds, strange kinds. Ed is amazed by the display. Ugh. He picks up a book titled Stroking the Love Muffin and puts it in his pocket. Frank flips a switch on something that looks like it has hands and lips. It kicks in. It sucks and gropes away quite noisily. Frank turns it off, but not before it grabs him and sucks his tie a few times. Ed pulls the cord on what looks like a small jackhammer with a vibrator attached. Oh my God. The engine hums to life. Frank picks up a miniature-sized contraption with long hose attached.
How do you use this?
It's a leaf blower. The gardener left it behind. You guys have something special in mind?
Yes, we're looking for a woman named Monique DiCarlo.
All right, but she doesn't come cheap.
No, you don't understand. It's her boyfriend we want.
Oh, I see. It's the boys you want. And I suppose you're sleeping with this guy here, huh?
No. We're just good friends. We're together some nights, but that's just for work.
Nordberg, what are you doing inside? Get out there. We're together some nights, but it's just for work.
We did go to Yosemite without the gals once.
But that
We
was
were-
just for fishing.
Norbert, get the hell out of here. We were a bit surprised there was just one bed and we didn't bring any sleeping bags.
facing the other way with our clothes on.
All right. So what it'll be, gentlemen, maybe you guys are interested in some of our discount items.
She points to several odd-looking contraptions.
Tie twist, Japanese flip-flop hummer, a Belgian waffle, a Portuguese butt blaster.
A Portuguese butt blaster?
I tried that one during the war, Frank. You wouldn't want it. That was the sitting we do.
All right, listen. We're looking for Hector Savage. Now, where is he?
Why should I tell you, copper?
Because on the last line of defense between sleaze like this and the decent people of this town.
Angle on a stock boy now entering from the back room carrying a stack of magazines.
Oh, hi, Frank. Say, we got that model D83 Swedish Sure Grip suck machine that you ordered.
It's a gift.
Frank, come here, quick.
Angle, Ed is looking out the window to the alley.
He's on the move.
Frank joins Ed at the window and looks out.
He's playing right into our hands. Let's get to the car.
Exterior alley. Savage gets into the van. Under the van, Nordberg hears Savage get into the van. He can't quite finish wedging the bugging device into the frame and starts to roll out the back. Now his sleeve gets caught on the muffler. He struggles to free it when red van. Savage drives off. From under the van, we hear Nordberg's "No!" He is riding along under the van. Exterior latex shop. The van takes off. Frank and Ed jump into the car and peel out. Red van is speeding down the street. Nordberg riding along under the van. Oil, soot, sparks, and now exhaust, making his life miserable. Interior, Frank's car. He looks at the readout screen in the car. The white blip is moving.
Nordberg's bugging device is right on the money.
Red van driving along the street. Speed bumps ahead. The van jostles with the bumps. Nordberg underneath being bopped around. Interior, Frank's car. Frank looks intently at the radar screen. Nordberg, with one last tug, frees his sleeve from the muffler. Exterior van. Nordberg slides out from under the van, unfortunately at the top of a steep incline. He starts rolling backward, picking up speed. Interior, Frank's car. Frank looks intently at the radar screen. The blips are converging.
He's changing directions now, Ed.
They scan the street in front of them, see nothing. Through the rear window, we see Nordberg hurtling down the street behind them. Exterior, Frank's car. Nordberg slides under the back, feet first. Nordberg underneath, his sleeve is snagged on the oil pan. Interior, Frank's car. The screen shows blips piggybacked.
Look, Ed, we're really close now. Step on it.
Exterior, Frank's car. It peels out down the street. Nordberg's feet sticking out the front like a snowplow.
No!
Angle, Nordberg's POV. Through his legs, we see Nordberg is now attracting road trash like a magnet. In rapid succession, discarded shoes, aluminum cans, bright orange road cones, old mufflers, hubcaps, etc. And finally, a few miscellaneous roadkills. Finally, a porcupine is bearing down on poor Nordberg. Interior, Frank's car. A call comes in over the radio. All units proceed to 3rd and Carmichael Streets. Red van suspect is cornered and SWAT teams are responding. Frank and Ed look at each other blankly, shrug and turn on the siren. Ed turns hard left and guns the engine. Exterior, dilapidated crack house. The place is surrounded by police cars in one of those pretentious crane shots. Come on, pretentious. A SWAT van pulls up and transforms into a catering truck. Angle, Frank and Ed drive up and screech to an abrupt halt, whipping Nordberg out from under the car and down the street. He slides under a passing Greyhound bus. Nordberg, underneath the bus, is snagged immediately, of course. Exterior bus, it pulls away. Its destination sign reads Detroit. Nordberg's feet sticking out the back are engulfed in diesel exhaust. Exterior, crack house. Frank and Ed approach the cordoned off area. Angle, various cops. It is an extremely tense situation. Close-ups on sweating brows, trembling trigger fingers, etc. Frank and Ed walk up to a DC police sergeant. Frank flashes his badge.
Drebin, police squad. What do we got here?
They start to walk toward the command post, passing by various SWAT sharpshooters, guns trained on the house.
It's a tense situation, Lieutenant. Savage is holed up in that house over there. Says he's got hostages.
Could be bluffing. Anything else?
The sergeant hands Frank a computer printout sheet.
Yeah, that red van is registered to one Quentin Habsburg.
Insert police computer printout showing motor vehicle information on Habsburg's van. Angle on the red van.
Well, it looks like the cows have come home to roost.
They pass by a nervous cop holding a rifle aimed at the house.
How we doing, Steen?
He slaps him on the back. Steen is startled and accidentally pulls the trigger. All the other cops open fire. Frank too. It's a crazed shootout. Ed yells.
Stop firing! Stop firing!
Here, give me the bullhorn.
He takes the bullhorn from the sergeant.
This is Frank Drubbin of Police Squad. Throw down your guns and come on out with your hands up. Or come on out, then throw down your guns, whichever way you want to do it. Just remember the 2 key elements here. 1, guns to be thrown out. 2, come on out. Savage, can you hear me?
You just try and take me, Drebin.
A bullet hits nearby.
Cards, Frank.
Not all of them.
Angle, they're next to an urban assault battering ram vehicle. It's an awesome looking urban assault vehicle, as big as a Sherman tank. Frank starts to climb onto the battering ram. He hands Ed the bullhorn.
Well, Frank, you can't drive that thing. You're not checked out on it.
Frank is lowering himself down into the hatch.
Don't worry, Ed, it's okay. You just keep him busy.
Frank closes the hatch and rumbles off towards the crack house.
Vaj, what do you want?
Okay, I want a car out front, something fun. A Porsche.
Vaj,
Too big.
convertible. Mercedes.
All right, then I want a plane ticket to Jamaica and not any DC 10. I want a nice hotel, no touristy place, something really indicative of the people and their culture. Indicative of the people and their culture.
So proud of you. Battering ram approaching the house, really threatening. The excitement builds. Interior battering ram. Frank controls wearing World War II goggles. Savage sees battering ram coming, bolts out of the room. Exterior crack house, medium shut. Not that that matters, but Frank's battering ram rumbles up to the house. It stops at the front door. The mechanical arm comes out of it. At the end is a pointed finger. It rings the doorbell. Interior crack house. Savage tries to escape through a window, but all the windows are barred. He's trapped.
All right, Savage. You're trapped. Come on out with your hands on top of your head.
Exterior crack house. Frank waits a polite beat and then guns the engine and plows right through the door. Interior battering ram. Frank's having a lot of trouble seeing out the small viewing slot. Savage, hands on head, watches dumbfounded as Frank's battering ram passes right in front of him, rumbling out through the back wall. Exterior backyard. The battering ram careens through the backyard, collecting clothes hanging on the line, bicycles, a barbecue grill, lawn furniture, and skewers through an old tire swing hanging from a tree. Interior crack house. Savage now has an easy escape. He runs out the hole in the wall. Interior battering ram. Frank's vision is zero due to a large pair of underwear covering the thin viewing slot. Exterior city streets. Frank's battering ram weaving dangerously in and out of traffic, all the backyard paraphernalia draped over it. A doghouse is dragging along behind it. Interior battering ram. Frank frantically trying to work a dozen levers. Exterior city zoo. Frank rumbles through a wall and out of our view. Ed and SWAT teamers arrive on the scene. They react as we hear the demolishing of countless cages and zoo buildings. Caged birds are flying free at last. Zoogoers run by, clutching their children, running for their lives. Among them are now loose zoo animals, a gorilla, zebra, and a seal. A final crash. Another zoo wall. Frank has come to a stop. As he peeks out of the battering ram, he sees a boa constrictor wrapped around the ram arm. Monkeys are clutching it for dear life. Guards are firing guns. It's chaos. Frank, a wild bird perched on his head, has a "what the hell happened" look on his face. Exterior Habsburg's estate. Guests are arriving. Cars wait to be taken by the valets, and a giraffe walks past camera. Interior library. Habsburg, seated at his desk, is writing a check. He hands it to a gentleman seated across from him, and they both rise.
Well, you're the lobbyist. I'll leave the rest up to you.
He walks into the door.
Just make sure Congress keeps those auto fuel efficiency standards right where they are. Here, let me cash that for you.
Habsburg hands him a wad of cash, takes back the check. The lobbyist exits. Savage staggers in, clutching his stomach. Habsburg turns to face him.
What are you doing here? I thought I told you to lay low.
I know, they found me. Big shout out at the crack house.
We love a good shout out, but we also love a good shootout that just happened. Habsburg rises to help
Shootout.
the groaning Savage into a seat.
It's a fucking crack.
At the shootout, were you wounded?
At the shootout, no, on the way over, I stopped for a burrito.
Okay. Habsburg sits on the front of the desk.
Well, now you better lay low. You were spotted at the Research Institute.
But boss, we was in and out of there clean.
Were
Without
were
ever even looking
out
at
there.
Savage. God.
It says
I'm sorry, I stepped on your line. I'm sorry. Without ever looking at Savage, Habsburg places a newspaper on the table in front of Savage. Insert newspaper on the front page is an artist's sketch of Savage.
Nice likeness, wouldn't you say?
Savage gasps.
who could have saw me?
Seen me. It was the girl, Jane.
I should have killed her when I had the chance.
Don't worry about her. It's that cop that's making too much trouble. But you better stay out of sight until after the party.
Right, boss. Then you and me kill Drebin.
You and I kill Drebin. Yes. Now get out of here.
Savage slinks out a side door. Habsburg goes into the foyer. Interior Habsburg's estate foyer. Frank enters.
Your coat, sir.
Yes, it is, and I have the receipt to prove it.
He eyes the goings-ons and hands the butler his coat. He spots Commissioner Brumford ascending the staircase. He follows. Angle, staircase landing. Butler number 2 hands an ornate phone receiver to Brumford. He pulls an antenna out of it. It's cordless.
Phone call, Commissioner.
Hold on, I thought I was a girl earlier. Now I'm a dude? Whatever. Thank you. She listens for a beat, red-faced. He did what? Drebin approaches from behind. How many animals escaped? Oh my God.
Ah, good evening, Commissioner. You're looking lovely tonight.
She gives him a look that would level a city block. Well, do you realize that because of you, this city, my city, is being overrun by baboons?
With all due respect, Commissioner, isn't that the fault of the voters?
She wants to strangle him, but before she can react, the combo strikes up a big fanfare. Frank looks up towards it. Interior large ballroom. Habsburg is making a speech from the bandstand. Fake Meinheimer and Jane are at his side.
I'd just like to thank you all for attending this event in honor of Dr. Albert Meinheimer, who tomorrow will make his historic address.
Guests applaud enthusiastically.
Along with the president, I too pledge to support Dr. Meinheimer's recommendations, whatever they may be.
More enthusiastic applause. And Angle, Baggett, Fenswick, and Dunwell nod to Habsburg conspiratorially. Bandstand, fake Meinheimer beams, starts to get out of his chair, but catches himself just in time. Habsburg stares him back into the chair.
Now please enjoy the evening.
Music starts up and couples start dancing. Interior large room, another area. Frank walks up to Jane, who is dancing with a gentleman. Frank taps him on the back to cut in.
May I?
The gentleman nods and withdraws. Jane is surprised to see Frank and they dance.
Frank, what are you doing here?
Dance floor. Jane and Frank share with several other couples. They are doing the cha-cha, the basic 1, 2, cha-cha-cha steps. Drebin is showing a lot of attitude. Evan gets a bit fancy as time goes on. Or even, I'm sorry, oh my gosh. His wrists hang limp as he goes about the dance. After a minute of this, we see how really dumb a counterpoint this is to the serious discussion that now follows.
I can sum it up in 3 words. Quentin Habsburg. I didn't like him the minute I laid eyes on him. The guy's as dirty as a coal miner's underwear.
Frank, what's gotten into you? He's kind, he's gentle, he's a concerned man who cares about the people. And he's not suspicious as some people I know.
Oh, yeah? Well, why don't you ask him what his connection is to the red van you saw the night of the explosion?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or why don't you ask him if he's pals with a goon named Hector Savage?
Frank, stop it. You're jealous. Just because another man can bring me the understanding you never could.
Oh, I'm just hoping your precious Quentin sees us. I know he'll be jealous. And a jealous man always makes the wrong move. I'm counting on that.
He takes her in his arms and puts on a marvelous display of the art of the tango. Hapsburg at his table, playing solitaire, spots the crowd around Frank and Jane. He is not pleased. He summons a goon and whispers something to him. In the background, Frank spins Jane wildly around his head. Dance floor, Frank and Jane end up in a flourish, and the final pose that brings applause from everyone. They take a few bows, and Hapsburg's goon approaches.
Mr. Drebin, Mr. Harrisburg would like you to join him at his table.
Frank smiles smugly. He was right, and they follow the goon off screen. Hapsburg's table. Hapsburg is seated at the table, absent-mindedly playing solitaire. He looks up when Frank and Jane approach.
Do you gamble, Lieutenant?
Every time I order out.
Excuse me. Hapsburg stares at Frank intensely. Jane is uncomfortable. Fake Meinheimer wheels up behind Frank, clears his throat, and Frank turns around.
Excuse me, but you happen to be standing in my place at the table.
Oh, Dr. Meinheimer, you remember Frank?
Oh, yeah, Mr.
Hapsburg comes to his rescue.
Drebin, from Police Squad. You met him at the Institute?
Oh, yes, of course. Please, sit down. I'll sit over here.
Angle on Jane, a bit puzzled. She takes a seat next to Hapsburg. Frank sits down opposite Hapsburg.
Join us for a drink, Lieutenant? Or perhaps a game of chance?
Chances of our kamikaze pilots.
Que sera sera. You do speak French, don't you?
Unfortunately, no, but I do kiss that way. Now let's play another game. Who's this?
Shows him the picture of Hector Savage. It's his high school yearbook picture. Oh, shit.
I wouldn't know.
Well, he's been a bad boy. He blew up a building he shouldn't have, and he's driving a van registered in your name.
We own lots of vans. One was stolen not more than 3 days ago. Look, Lieutenant, I have nothing to hide.
Maybe so, but I'm warning you, Hapsburg. If you so much as sneeze, I'm going to be there to wipe your nose.
There's a beat. We see Frank and Hapsburg are not completely comfortable with this particular analogy. Angle, bandstand, big fanfare. Commissioner Brumford steps to the microphone to make an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for the first door prize of the evening, an all-expense paid trip to the Aleutian Islands. The audience oohs and ahs.
Ooh.
Damn it, Travis. And to draw our first winner, we'd like to ask our guest of honor, Dr. Albert Meinheimer. Much applause. Angle on the fake Meinheimer. Feigns reluctance, but loves the attention. Yes, get all this attention. Still unfamiliar with his wheelchair, he awkwardly backs away from the table.
Here, let me help you with that.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Frank begins to maneuver him between the tables on his way to the podium. Angle on Jane and Hapsburg.
I can't understand what's gotten into Frank.
I'm afraid it's merely a case of jealousy, my dear. I would feel the same way if I had lost the love of such a beautiful lady.
Frank, pushing the wheelchair, turns to catch a glimpse of Frank's POV. Hapsburg kissing Jane. Resume on Frank. He doesn't see the serving cart pass in front of fake Meinheimer. The wheelchair jams hard into the serving cart. Fake Meinheimer yelps in pain. A coffee urn pitches into fake Meinheimer's lap. Scalding hot. Nearby guests are appalled. Frank, over-anxious to correct his mistake, reaches down to reverse the control lever. Insert control lever. Some spilled coffee is seeped into the switch. It starts to throw off sparks. Frank's hand switches the toggle switch to reverse, and Frank, the wheelchair backs into him. Frank pitches forward over Frank Meinheimer's back, his head landing in Frank Meinheimer's crotch. His legs wrapped around Frank Meinheimer's neck, and the wheelchair, still in reverse, starts to spin crazily around the room, wrecking general havoc. Hapsburg and Jane look on, dumbfounded. Frank, desperate to stop the chair, reaches for the control lever. Insert control lever. Frank's hand jams it into the position marked forward high. Angle the wheels, burning rubber. Back to the chair does a wheelie, pitching fake Meinheimer on his back, and Frank can't hang on. The chair takes off across the dance floor, and fake Meinheimer's head bouncing crazily across the floor. Guests dive for cover, trying to avoid the hurtling wheelchair. Angle, Jane, Habsburg, Commissioner Brumford, and other guests looking on horrified. Jane, in tears, rushes past Frank and out the door, and Frank tries to call out after her.
Jane.
Angle on the French doors. Fake Meinheimer goes flying through the French doors. Exterior Habsburg Estate pool area patio. 2 society matrons are having champagne. And for the man confined to a wheelchair, he seems to get around marvelously. Behind them, we see fake Meinheimer in wheelchair getting catapulted out of the second floor balcony in a high, graceful trajectory on his way down to God knows where. And that is our break.
5.
Ready to go. Hello. Exterior Jane's apartment building. A typical 8-story Washington, D.C. brownstone. Interior Jane's apartment living room. Jane is doing a few chores, still hurt over this evening's encounter with Frank. Her cat purrs by her on the way to the kitchen. Jane waters the plants, enters her kitchen. Interior kitchen. Jane feeds the canaries, feeds the cat and the dog. Lays feed out for her chicken, slops the pigs. An elephant's trumpet is heard. A trunk briefly sways into frame.
Just a minute, Jumbo.
She reaches for some peanuts. Exterior Jane's apartment. Frank pulls up. He takes out the world's largest and bulkiest bouquet. Half of it is destroyed just getting it out from his car. He enters the apartment building. Another third of the bouquet is a goner trying to fit it in through the door. Angle across the street. A car pulls up in the shadows. A man gets out. Follows Frank into the building. It's Savage. Interior lobby. Frank gets into the elevator. More flowers gone. Interior Jane's kitchen. Jane is about to get something out of the refrigerator. Then the doorbell rings. She goes to open it. Interior living room. Jane opens the door and Frank is standing there holding a scraggly bunch of stems.
Frank!
He hands her the stems.
I just want to say I'm sorry about what happened tonight.
Frank, you humiliated yourself in front of all those people.
I was just doing my job.
Oh, Frank.
Jane, I need to talk to you. May I come in?
Well, okay, but I was just about to step into the shower.
It'll only be a minute.
She lets him in and Frank looks around.
This is a nice place.
I got lucky. The family that lived here was bludgeoned to death in their sleep. It only costs $150 a month. Ugh, I wish.
Frank walks past the French doors. I mean, come on. Sees a breathtaking view, twinkling city lights, a bridge off in the distant mountains, a full moon smiling down on a glowing sunset.
Oh, but still only $150 a month. That's almost unbelievable.
And the room starts to shake. We hear a low-level rumble, intensifying into a thunderous roar as the uptown local hurtles past the window, not 3 feet away. Frank's voice is drowned out.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Forget it.
The train is gone. Jane stops a row of spinning plates. Jane walks into the kitchen and Frank follows.
I'm making a protein shake to take into my shower, apparently. Do you want some?
No
You have a
thanks. I
good
just have
shower
a few
shake.
questions I'd like to ask you.
Interior kitchen. Jane goes to the refrigerator. I'm so sorry, George. Opens the door and sticks her head in, starts pulling items out and handing them to Frank. We only see her backside behind the open door.
Jane, do you know what Dr. Meinheimer is going to say at the press club dinner tomorrow?
Oh, Jesus. Yes, he's going to endorse energy efficiency and renewable energy like solar power.
Jane goes further into the refrigerator.
Who else knew that?
Well, only me, of course. I mentioned it to Quentin.
By now, Jane's rummaging has taken her ridiculously far into the refrigerator. Only her legs are visible now, sticking out horizontally.
And if the president would adopt the national policy of supporting efficiency in solar energy, who would be the biggest losers?
Well, coal, oil, and nuclear. It could put them out of business.
Click! The refrigerator door closes shut, and there's a beat.
Frank! Frank!
She's knocking on the door from the inside. Frank quickly opens it. Jane emerges with an armful of food items.
Just one more question. You told me once that Dr. Meinheimer had a photographic memory, yet tonight he never recalled meeting me.
That is strange, but he has been under a lot of strain.
Jane starts putting bananas. Who puts bananas in the fridge? Strawberries, peaches, etc. into a blender as Frank talks.
Jane, does Dr. Meinheimer have any identifiable marks like a scar, a mole, a tattoo, webbed toes, an extra eyelid, a third nostril?
Jane ponders this, then drops some potatoes, onions, and some Ritz crackers into the blender.
Well, he has a birthmark in the shape of Whistler's mother on his right buttock.
I see. Well,
The thought, how the hell does she know that, is written all over his face. She puts in a T-bone steak, link sausages, and a big Hershey bar. She pours the mixture into 2 glasses, hands one to Frank. He's not real anxious to try it.
have you noticed anything different about him?
Frank quickly pours his drink back into the blender.
Well, only that he's a foot taller and he seems to be left-handed now.
She sees his glass is empty. She pours his drink back into his glass. He's stuck with it again. He's looking to dump it fast. Jane suddenly realizes what Frank is getting at.
Frank,
Frank quickly tosses the drink out the window.
what are you trying to tell me?
My eyes! Oh, I can't see! I can't see!
Frank pretends he didn't hear anything.
That Quentin somehow found an exact double for Dr. Meinheimer and that tomorrow that double will give a fraudulent report to the president?
Frank is taken aback.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's a lot better than what I come up with.
Frank, stop it. This is preposterous. Is there no end to your jealousy?
She's been gripping his arm tightly as she is worked into a lather.
Jane, you're hurting me.
She lets go.
What more do you want from me?
Can I use your phone?
Local call?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to take my shower. And
She
my
kicks off her.
smoothie.
Ooh, yes, girl. Take your Stella with you. And smoothie. She kicks off her shoes and holds them in her hands. They are extremely large heels, and Jane is now about 2 feet shorter than Frank.
The phone is in the other room. You can let yourself out. Goodbye.
She exits. Interior hallway. Elevator door opens. Ominous music. We see only the feet of Savage step into the hallway and turn. Interior bedroom. Frank is on the phone.
Ed Hawken, please.
We hear some insipid hold music. Muzak, if you will. Interior living room. Front door. We hear the lock being professionally jimmied. The click tells us Savage has succeeded. The doorknob slowly starts to turn. Interior bathroom. Jane turns on the shower, feels the water, adjusts the hot and cold, then takes off her dress. We follow it to the floor. Camera is now focused on her legs. Her slip comes off, her underwear, a holster and 6-gun, her bra. She gets in the shower, drawing the shower curtain. Interior Jane's front door. Subjective camera. Savage through the door, looks around the living room. Savage walks on, opens the kitchen door. A pig scurries out. What? He heads down the hallway. Savage hears Jane in the bathroom. He slowly opens the bathroom door. Jane, unaware of danger, is taking her shower. Interior bathroom. Jane is singing in the shower.
Memories all alone in the moonlight.
Yes, girl. Interior bedroom. Frank is still on the phone.
That's right, Ed. This is something big. I'm going to need you in Nordberg. What's he doing in Detroit? Well, send him plane fare and a new pair of pants.
Interior bathroom. Sorry.
Out with my sadness.
Come on, Riff. Savage is screwing on a silencer, but getting teary-eyed listening to the song.
Of my days in the sun.
Savage forgets where he is for the moment.
I'll remember a time when I knew what happiness was. Look around, a new day has begun.
They're singing 2-part harmony, guys. Oh, then Jane realizes there's somebody else there with her and she screams. Savage is jolted out of his reverie. Interior living room night. About to leave, Frank hears Jane scream from the bathroom. Interior bathroom. Savage aims gun at shower curtain, but before he can get off a shot, Frank bursts in and tries to wrestle the gun away from him. Jane opens the curtain to see what's going on. Jane over the shoulder, naked, of course. The two men struggle. She screams. She's naked. Remember, don't forget that. This is a nude woman from the back. When she screams, Savage and Frank turn towards her and both stop dead in their tracks. Come on, their ass. Staring at her, taking her all in, both enjoying what they see. Then it's back to the struggle. Savage has Frank bent over the sink. He's attempting to do him in with an electric toothbrush. Oy. Come on, Sonic. Close up of Frank's struggle, the brush getting closer to his mouth. Then, as Frank struggles, the toothbrush glides over his teeth. Frank reacts as if this were pure torture. It is. His mouth is foaming up with toothpaste. Frank grabs a hairdryer, turns it on, blows hot air in Savage's face. Savage's, sorry, she likes to put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Savage holds his face and screams. As Frank recovers from his brushing, Savage throws a towel at him, momentarily blinding Frank while Savage runs out of the room. Frank, mouth billowing in toothpaste, goes after him. Interior hallway. Frank catches up to the fleeing Savage with a flying tackle. The elevator doors open, revealing an elderly lady with a poodle. Not just a couple, just one lady with her dog. And Frank and Savage end up on the ground with their heads between the elevator doors, which keep jamming closed on their heads. The poodle yaps annoyingly at their heads. They both get up a little woozy. Savage chokes Frank up against the wall with one hand and pulls a gun with the other. In desperation, Frank grabs a nearby fire hose from a typical wall-mounted box. Frank manages to shove the hose nozzle into his attacker's mouth. Savage keeps up his attack. Frank turns on the water, holds the nozzle in Savage's mouth. Savage immediately lets go of Frank, his cheeks bulging out with water. They look like two water balloons. Then his stomach begins to fill up. Frank sees the man has had enough, but he's shoved the hose too far down Savage's throat. He can't yank it out. Frank quickly goes to turn the water off, but the handle comes off in his hand. Uh-oh. Savage keeps filling with water. Come on, Violet Beauregard. Frank winces in anticipation of the inevitable. Water pressure builds in Savage. It gushes from his nostrils and ears. Frank, he's never seen anything like this before and doesn't especially want to hang around for the outcome. So Frank tries Jane's door and it is locked.
Jane.
He looks back. Savage is now really ballooning. Like I said, Violet. Frank is a bit panicked. Two buttons pop off Savage's jacket like rivets on a U-boat. See Das Boot.
Jane.
He pounds on the door, angled door across the hall. A guy comes out dressed in a towel, his head sussed to the max, dripping wet.
Hey, what the hell happened to the water pressure?
His eyes widen as he sees Savage. Angle on Savage. He sprung a leak up and down his chest. The steam is starting to go. Interior Jane's apartment. Frank enters and slams the door shut just as we hear a gigantic bang sloshing of water. Jane rushes to him, clad only in a man's shirt.
Oh, Frank, I was so frightened. I'm glad you're here.
She collapses into his arms.
What happened out there?
Nothing. It's nothing to worry about, but if I were you, I wouldn't leave until they have a chance to shampoo the carpets.
Water sloshes in under the door. Frank bends down to pick something up that's come in with the tide.
Who would want to kill you, Frank?
Well, before tonight, only the cable company.
Frank reads the dock pass.
But now I'm afraid it was one of Habsburg's goons. He was carrying this.
Frank hands her the laminated card. Insert the card. It's a dock pass. It reads, Habsburg Valdez, Warehouse 39. Jane, she's shocked, collapses on the couch, distraught.
Oh, Frank, I feel like such a fool. I should have never doubted you.
There. You had no way of knowing that the man you were dating was a vicious, murdering sociopath.
She breaks down, sobbing.
We've got to help Dr. Meinheimer. He's in danger.
Yes, they'll probably torture him and then kill him.
It's all my fault.
They'll probably start by pulling off his toenails.
This is not helping. Jane is beside herself.
Then they'll move on to nose hairs. Well, if my hunch is right, they're holding him hostage in this warehouse.
He's holding the dock pass.
Oh, Frank, you'll be careful, won't you?
Yes, of course I will. Well, I guess I'll be on my way.
Frank rises to leave.
I promised Nordberg we'd bake a raisin nut bread tonight.
Jane gazes into his eyes. Overcome by his strong, manly presence, she buries her head in his shoulder. Romantic music creeps in.
Oh, I can't fight it anymore. I ran away from you once and I can't do it again. Will you stay with me?
Angle on Frank. His expression leaves no doubt. Close up on jukebox. A 45 drops onto the turntable. The music starts. It's the Righteous Brothers Unchained Melody. Yes. Angle on Jane, clad in Frank's shirt, straddling a potter's wheel. Her fingers manipulate a huge gooey mound of clay on the way to making who knows what. Angle on Frank, clad in jeans and bare-chested, approaches Jane from behind and slides his arm around her. Oh my God. She takes his hand in hers and places them on the clay. Together they begin to stroke the clay up and down together. And I said that already, up and down. And well, you get the picture. This is going to be real obvious. I mean, Frank reaches deep into the clay and he pulls out a bowling trophy. Close up, Frank and Jane. Big kiss. Angle, potter's wheel, spinning faster and faster. Globs of clay start to fly off and splat against the walls. And Angle on Frank's jeans, zipper partly open, a major bulge in this crotch. Jane's hand deftly reaches in and pulls out a lump of clay. Angle, Frank and Janie deftly places her on the bed. Kissing, they drop out of frame. Angle, Jane's hands, both of them, grip two vertical rods in the headboard and they snap off. Angle on the potter's wheel, turning ever so slowly. It is highly detailed. Huge penis wavering around as it spins. Wow, thank God my roommate is not home. Dissolve 2 lovemaking montage. Various body parts, hands grabbing bedposts, stock footage of oil
Oh,
spill,
Frank!
train speeding through tunnel, running backwards and forwards, hot dog going through a donut, elephant spraying water, then stock footage of a space shuttle launch, a dam bursting, and terrified people running for their lives. Fade out, fade in on exterior harbor in the morning. Jesus Christ. We see the gigantic tanker Habsburg Valdez through the binocular map. The sign says Warehouse 39, exterior police boat. Ed is peering through the binoculars and he puts them down.
Frank, I'm telling you, we got no business doing this.
Pause for. Yeah. Okay, Frank is putting on a wetsuit. He can't get his leg in the wetsuit. He is pulling on it hard. That's what she said. It's taut and it's stretched out to the limit. Also what she said.
You're wrong, Ed. As long as there's criminal activity, we have a job to do.
The wetsuit shoots off his foot like a big rubber band and sails past Ed over the side of the boat, and Ed looks over the side. Ed's POV, the wetsuit plops onto the water. 10 others float nearby.
But Frank, the commissioner, pulled our credentials and told us to be out of town by sunrise.
Frank looks around and takes a big breath.
All the better to catch Habsburg off guard.
Ed can't believe this.
Well, we couldn't have picked a better day. This fog will conceal us all the way over to Habsburg's warehouse.
That's not fog, Frank. The number 2 engine's on fire. They're trying to put it out.
Angle on the deck hatch. Smoke and flames billow out. Resume seeing Frank and Ed. Ed checks his watch.
All right, let's run through this one more time. At exactly 3:15, Nordberg will cut the power line, knocking out the alarms.
Right.
Nordberg,
Angle on Nordberg. He's bent over the side of the boat.
something out there, Nordberg?
No, I'm just throwing up, sir.
And Nordberg joins them.
I'll be out in the van waiting for your signal. You're all wired up?
Yeah, right. When I say I love it, then you guys move in.
Check.
Frank has the mask, tanks, and equipment on. The swim fins are truly oversized. Sits on the side of the boat. Frank gives him the thumbs up, and he holds his mask. Falls backwards off the boat and into the water, but instead of the splash, we hear a loud thud. Ed and Nordberg, who are on the other side of the boat waiting for Frank, run to the sound. Frank, he's lying on the dock, flat on his back, looking up at Ed and Nordberg.
The water's over there, Frank.
Just practicing.
Interior Warehouse 39, Habsburg, along with Fenswick, Baggett, and Dunwell are seated around a table intently watching a television monitor. Close up on the television screen, fade up on a TV commercial, exterior ocean, an oil tanker cruises through the pristine waters.
Here at Argon Oil, we care about the environment.
Interior Science Lab, we see oil-soaked ducks coming down a conveyor belt.
That's why Argon scientists are experimenting with new and more efficient ways to clean crude oil off of wild birds.
The ducks go in a mini-sized car wash setup. Through those squiggly rags sprayed with soap, rinsed off, blow-dried, then patted down with sponges by car wash attendant types. A blinking sign advertises now applying hot carnauba wax. Reverse angle, Habsburg and cronies murmur their approval. Exterior warehouse 39 pier. Frank surfaces right in front of a sewer drain, crap pouring out of it. He's carrying a utility case. A sign reads raw sewage. Nearby another, for God's sake, don't swim here. He climbs onto the pier, takes off his equipment. Frank stealthily looks for a way inside the perimeter. He comes face to face with snarling Dobermans.
I'll have to find another way in. Do you read me, Ed?
Exterior van driving through the warehouse district. Interior van, Ed is seated at a receiving set with 4 SWAT team members.
Loud and clear, Frank.
He hits another switch and the van comes to a stop.
Nordberg, how we doing?
Interior cab of the van, Nordberg in a utility company outfit is wearing a small headset and mic, not unlike utility company operators wear. He backs up the van.
We're at our destination.
Interior warehouse 39 TV screen, exterior training school.
Here at our tanker captain training school, we're making sure that only the best qualified men become Argon captains.
Trainees are trying unsuccessfully to touch their noses, stagger down a straight white line, extra wide, blow on the breathalyzer machine. Others attempt to negotiate an obstacle course in go-karts with boat bodies covering them. When they crash, oil pours out of them. Exterior desert tank warfare stock footage.
And here in the Argonne Desert Training Testing Grounds, we've developed a special hot weather tank fuel for future wars in the Middle East.
Over stock footage appears the Argonne logo.
Because here at Argonne, we want to keep that oil flowing from them to you through us.
Music up and fade out. Angle, Habsburg and friends. Pleased again. Exterior warehouse 39. Frank is making his way to a darkened section of the fence.
I'm gonna have to get over this roof.
Frank takes a grappling hook gun from his utility case. He shoots the grappling hook to the roof. It goes up, up and over. Other side of the building. The hook latches onto the harness of one of the snarling dogs. Frank, he yanks on the rope, satisfied. He starts to climb up. Doberman being slowly pulled upward. This is an unhappy dog. He's acting as a counterweight to Frank. Side shot of the roof. Drebin making his way up one side, the dog facing forward, being pulled up the other. Both are equal distances from the roof peak. Frank hearing a growling, puzzled, but still climbing. He reaches the peak and is nose to nose with a snarling, frothing dog. Big trouble, big fear.
Ah!
He lets go of the rope and dog traces Frank along the top of the roof. Power pole. Nordberg checks his watch. It's almost time to cut the power to the factory.
5 seconds to outing the power.
Interior van.
5 seconds, check. Get ready, Nordberg.
Nordberg.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Nordberg outs what he believes to be the right wire. It's his harness. He ends up hanging upside down by his cleats, his jacket flung down over his head like a straitjacket. His headset falls off of his head.
Help! Help! Help!
Insert dangling headset.
Nordberg? Nordberg!
Exterior roof. Frank is dashing along the roof line. The Doberman is in hot pursuit. Back to Habsburg and suits. They look up, hearing a pounding on the roof. Angle on the skylight. Frank comes crashing through it, and lands on the table, breaking it in two. Thugs surround Frank. All guns are trained on him. Frank stands up, dusts himself off. He runs one hand through his hair, and miraculously, he's completely cleaned up.
Well, it's Lieutenant Drebin. He was supposed to have been killed last night.
Frank gulps, realizing, Jesus, am I Travis? Realizing he's in a bad spot now. The thugs close in menacingly.
But now, I think I'm going to enjoy doing it myself. It'll be slow and painful. I'll start with your toes and work up to your knees until you're screaming for mercy, begging me to kill you. But of course, I won't. Not until you come crawling to me on your hands and knees to kiss my boots.
Why don't I just crawl right over there now and kiss your boots? We can skip all the stuff in the middle.
Habsburg, the suits, and the goons are sniffing in the air, the scent of one foul odor. Habsburg points out what is beginning to become apparent to everyone.
Do you smell that?
Everyone agrees. They all look around.
That would be me. I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it.
Habsburg and the suits and the thugs are incredulous.
I love it.
Interior van.
That's the signal. Let's go.
They try to open the van door and it won't budge.
Stuck. Give me a hand.
They put their shoulders to the doors. The doors aren't opening. Exterior van. The door is banging against the power pole. Yes. Nordbergus backed the van right up against the pole. Interior warehouse.
Search him.
A goon starts to pat Frank down all over.
I love it.
Goon gives him the eye. Hey, I'm married. He proceeds more tentatively. He feels something on Frank's chest. He opens the wetsuit. Revealed, attached to his chest is a complete home entertainment center. A reel-to-reel recorder, speakers, cassette player, CD, and lots of controls. The goon hits the stop button and the system turns off.
Tie him up.
The goons begin to tie up Frank.
You'll never get away with this, Habsburg. Whatever it is.
All right, Mr. Drebin. I'll show you. Let me introduce you to some people. Of course you know Dr. Meinheimer.
Dr. Meinheimer, bound and gagged, is wheeled out of the shadows into the room.
And you've met Earl Hacker.
Fake Meinheimer walks in, bows politely to Frank. He is limping slightly. Frank is shocked.
And then I'd like you to meet the Redmonds.
A typical middle-aged Midwestern tourist couple are brought in, and Frank doesn't recognize them.
Weekend guests from out of town.
This is our first crime.
Goon number 2 is left to guard Frank and Meinheimer.
We're going to the press club dinner. Make sure nothing happens to Mr. Drebin until I come back. Then I want the pleasure of killing you myself.
The pleasure's all mine.
He switches on the TV set and TV screen, exterior Hyatt Smithsonian Hotel. Dignitaries are filing in, limousines pull up, disgorge passengers. Press photographers crowd in, police control crowds. This is a big deal. Resume, Frank and Habsburg.
Enjoy the speech, Mr. Drebin.
Ominous music. He exits with fake Meinheimer. Interior warehouse on TV. We're watching a television reporter. She's reporting from the hotel.
As the energy profiles of the entire nation, indeed the entire world, may well be determined by the speech which will be delivered today by Dr. Meinheimer. We'll be back in a moment as our coverage continues.
Frank and Meinheimer tied up, hands behind their chairs, seated in front of an 8-foot high and 9-foot long metal shelf unit. They look at each other, desperate. They look back to the TV, a commercial. The scene is a typical suburban backyard. A man in an apron is flipping burgers on a barbecue grill. He looks into camera and addresses us.
You know, someday way in the future, the sun may be able to provide all our energy needs. But right now, it gives us a comfortable feeling to know that our home is being supplied by nuclear power.
Camera widens to reveal a huge nuclear power plant looming in the background. He is joined by his pretty wife and a dog with 2 tails, and they smile together.
We kind of think of it as our friendly neighbor. But remember, nuclear power can't exist without huge government subsidies.
Frank spots a hacksaw just behind his hands on the shelf.
Keep your eye on the gorilla.
Goon number 2 is listening to music through Walkman headphones. He is reading the world news, headline to be selected. Frank starts to shake the shelf back and forth, hoping to reach the hacksaw.
So write your congressman and tell him to keep those government dollars rolling into nuclear power.
Angle on the top of shelf, shaking a bowling ball. Teeters on the top and then falls. Lands right in the Meinheimer's lap. Then a baseball bat. Then a half a dozen softballs, some horseshoes, and a rack of billiard balls. And Frank is still trying to reach the hacksaw. Angle on the top of the shelf. 2 cans of crude oil and a box labeled packing material are teetering. Meinheimer deluged with black goop. Then packing material rains down. Finally, an anvil falls and knocks him out cold. Frank gives up with the hacksaw.
No use. I can't.
He looks over and sees the tarred and feathered Dr. Meinheimer unconscious. It dawns on him what he's just wrought. Engeldor. Just then, a very disheveled Ed and Nordberg burst in and their guns are drawn.
Freeze!
Several SWAT teamers grab the thug and untie Meinheimer and Frank. And Ed gets a good look at the oiled and feathered Meinheimer.
Good Lord. Look what they did to Dr. Meinheimer.
Goon number 2 is brought up. Ed just gets one look at this dirtball.
I just can't take it anymore.
He takes off his badge and throws it away.
All right. I'm just John Q. Public now. It's just you and me.
He starts pulling out guns and knives from everywhere, coats, boots, behind his back, etc., and throws them all down.
Mano a mano. I'll teach you to pick on a helpless invalid.
Angle on Frank, a little embarrassed, tries to break in gently.
Ed.
We hear painful groans as Frank winces with every vicious punch. Angle, Nordberg, wincing also. Frank can't take this any longer.
All right, he's had enough.
Angle on Ed, lying flat on his back, completely beaten up. Goon number 2 stands over him, fists out, ready for more.
Okay, cuff him and take him downtown. And somebody help the captain. We've got to get him to the press club dinner.
Exterior Hyatt Smithsonian Hotel, establishing shot. Interior hotel main ballroom. Press crowds around fake Meinheimer and Bush as they pose for the photographers. There's a temporary stage set up at one end facing a multitude of elegantly appointed tables. Television cameras are being set up and reporters are everywhere. Interior ballroom, another area. The television reporter is interviewing John Sununu.
I don't think there'll be any surprises in Dr. Mannheimer's address. He'll most likely recommend the president stay the course in the oil dependency and more dollars for subsidizing the nuclear power, as often as recommended myself.
Thank you, Mr. Sununu. We'll have more on the press club dinner after this, and also an update on those escaped zoo animals which continue to terrorize the city.
Interior ballroom, another area. Commissioner Brumford is scanning the room, talks to a couple of DC plainclothesmen. I don't need to tell you men that this is probably the most important evening of my career. We can't afford any mistakes, and if you see Lieutenant Drebin or any of his police squad near these premises, I want them arrested on sight. Interior hotel garage. Jane is waiting for Frank. She nervously checks her watch. A chill runs up her spine as she hears a familiar voice.
Why, Jane?
She turns around to see Habsburg.
Oh,
What are you doing out here? The party's inside.
Quentin, I was just getting a breath of fresh air.
Habsburg looks around, sniffs the air. The place is piled high with crates of fish. Jane thinks fast.
I grew up on Lake Erie. There's nothing quite like it.
Well, I'm quite sure, but how fortunate to have found you here. And now you can join me at my table.
He takes her arm and begins to lead her back to the ballroom. She looks helplessly back at the garage entrance. Exterior hotel rear entrance. The power company van pulls up. Frank, Ed, Norberg, and Meinheimer exit the van.
I told Jane to meet us at the hotel rear entrance. She's going to unlock the door at 7:30 sharp.
They all check their watches.
What about Habsburg, Frank?
We just have to hope she can steer clear of him.
Exterior rear entrance. Our guys arrive. Frank knocks on the door.
Jane!
No response. He pounds the door again. Nothing.
Something must have happened to Jane.
What are we going to do, Frank?
Frank looks around. A mariachi band is offloading equipment at an adjacent loading dock.
Follow me.
Exterior hotel loading dock. Frank, Ed, and Nordberg approach 4 ornately costumed band members. Frank flashes his badge.
Police squad, may I see your union cards?
See.
The guys reach inside their jackets. Looking down, our 4 guys deck them. Interior, hallway, 20th floor. Frank, Ed, and Nordberg and Mannheimer step out of the elevator. They're all dressed in ridiculous-looking mariachi outfits, tight pants, short bolero jackets with sequins, huge sombreros, and monster-sized guitars. They all sport drawn-on, pencil-thin mustaches.
Ed, you take the south wing. Nordberg, check for...
Well, Frank is interrupted by an official from the hotel.
Where the hell have you guys been?
Big traffic jam at the border.
The manager looks at him. What border? Then spots Meinheimer in a wheelchair.
And what's with him?
That's Pedro running of the bulls. He tripped.
Well, we got a room full of guests with no entertainment. You better get in there pronto. Comprende?
Comprendo, luego, lasagna, El Dorado.
They slowly back away from the hotel manager and into the ballroom. Interior ballroom. Frank and the squad are face to face with hundreds of his expectant dinner guests. They freeze. The manager comes up behind them.
What the hell are you waiting for? Circulate.
Oh my God. Frank and the guys come up to a group of tables. Meinheimer looks especially awkward in the wheelchair. Frank strums a few chords and the others follow.
In a little cafe just the other side of the border, she was a sitting there giving me looks that made my mouth water.
It's actually not too bad, almost listenable. Angle on another table. Frank is really getting into it.
So I started walking her way. She belonged to that man Jose. And I knew, yes, I knew I should leave. Then I heard her say,
Angle on Habsburg's table. Habsburg, Jane, the oil, coal, and nuclear suits. The mariachi band enters.
"Come a little bit closer, you're my kind of man. So big and so strong.
He's right in Habsburg's face, and Jane is appalled.
Come a little bit closer, I'm all alone, and the night is so long."
Nordberg and Meinheimer, Jesus, Travis, step forward and do the horn break right in front of Habsburg's ear. Fake Meinheimer excuses himself and heads for the days. Ed takes Frank aside, and in the background, Nordberg and Meinheimer are doing coordinated dance steps. Come on, Macarena. When Nordberg spins around, Meinheimer, mounted on an unseen turntable, also spins.
Frank, we better make a move.
Right, Ed, I'm thinking something more up-tempo, like tie a yellow ribbon.
No, I mean the imposter. He's about to go on.
Right. You get the doctor changed, I'll intercept Hacker.
Ed wheels Meinheimer away. Frank follows Hacker. Nordberg finishes his solo with big flourish. Nice applause. On stage, Tip O'Neill appears on stage and addresses the audience.
I'm so pleased and honored this evening to be called upon you to introduce our featured speaker, a man who...
The entire room shifts in their seats. This could be a long evening. Interior hallway. Frank confronts fake Meinheimer, wheeling himself down the hallway.
Dr. Meinheimer?
Yes?
Frank maroons his sombrero and mustache and a few other prostheses we did not know about. Fake chin, nose, ears, hand extensions, etc.
Or should I say Hacker?
Driven!
Frank grabs him by the lapels and hoists him out of the wheelchair. Some women come out of the ladies' room and start to watch. As it appears like a Mexican is beating the crap out of a guy in a wheelchair. They scream. This attracts the other passerby who intervene and proceed to beat the crap out of Frank. Others help wheel the disheveled and groaning fake Meinheimer away. Oh, we better get this man to some first aid.
Right. You sit tight, mister. We'll take care of you.
Are the both of us? Or the both of them? Yes, definitely, Travis. They appear out of sight, around a corner, interior hallway. Ed exits the men's room with Meinheimer now in a dark suit. They turn a corner and are shocked at what they see. Angle on Frank, draped over a railing, semi-conscious. His tight pants are ripped, not suited to this type of action. Meow. Ed rushes to him.
Frank, what happened?
He takes Frank off the railing and props him up against the wall.
Stay here. Don't move. I'll get you some water. I'll be right back.
Ed exits. Frank starts to come to. He opens his eyes. The first thing he sees is Meinheimer staring down at him from his wheelchair. Frank springs to his feet.
You sniveling fraud?
Frank yanks the helpless Meinheimer out of his wheelchair and starts pummeling him. Angle on bystanders, including a few football player types.
Hey, look! He's at it again!
Guess he needs another lesson.
They all move toward Frank. Interior ballroom. Tip O'Neill is heading home.
And as we face an important decision affecting our environment and hence our lives, going into the 21st century.
Angle, audience, staring ahead, slack-jawed. Some eyes are beginning to glaze. Interior hallway. Ed, coming around the corner with a glass of water, is shocked at what he sees. Frank. Bystanders are beating the crap out of him. Ed rushes up to break it up, flashes his badge.
Hey, break it up. This man is a policeman.
The bystanders let Frank go. Ed tries to revive Frank, but he's still too groggy.
Wake
The hotel manager rushes up.
Dr. Mannheimer, they're going to introduce you in 30 seconds.
Ed hands the glass of water to the hotel manager.
Stay with him.
Ed rushes off with Mannheimer. Interior ballroom.
I'm sorry, I was very distracted by the seconds. And now I'm so proud to present to you a man who needs no introduction.
Angle, Habsburg's table. Habsburg looking smugly confident, as are his cronies, the energy suits. Jane is getting nervous.
A man unparalleled in standing in the scientific community.
Backstage, Ed appears with Mannheimer ready to go on. They proceed down a narrow corridor. Both are really pleased when suddenly, from out of nowhere, two thick arms grab Ed in a chokehold around his neck. It's fake Mannheimer. Ed turns bright red from the stranglehold. Angle on Mannheimer, blocked from entering the stage. Damn it! By the struggling Ed and fake Mannheimer. Interior ballroom.
The esteemed Dr. Albert S. Mannheimer.
The audience rises to their feet and gives a standing ovation, the kind usually reserved for Haile Selassie. I definitely didn't pronounce that right. Anyway, backstage, Ed is now turning purple. Audience still is ovating. And backstage, Ed is now bright green. With one desperate rush, he throws a wicked elbow to fake Mannheimer's ribs. Ed follows with a devastating right cross, knocking fake Mannheimer back into his wheelchair, his right hand knocking against the control lever. Insert control lever. Fake Mannheimer's hand throws it into the forward position. Angle. Fake Mannheimer in the wheelchair, head straight for the stage past a kneeling and gasping Ed. Interior ballroom. Audience is still on their feet, applauding. This electric wheelchair with fake Mannheimer goes across the stage, veers left, and plunges off the stage into the front row. Audience is horrified. Front row. Fake Mannheimer has landed in a heap, his head jammed up the crotch of a society matron. Oh, God. Habsburg is horrified. Baggett, Dunwell, and Fenswick scowl at him. Back to fake Mannheimer. Groggy, he gets up and starts to stagger around awkwardly. Nordberg, sorry, I had an S in there just for shits and giggles. Amazed at the sight, rushes forward.
My God, he can walk. It's a miracle. He can walk.
Audience starts to applaud. A woman crosses herself. And other women are saying things like, it's a miracle and glory be. And some are in tears. And I'm Jewish and I can't believe I just did that again, twice. Back to Nordberg. Damn it. He gives fake Mannheimer a big hug.
Get off of me, you moron.
Well, he shoves Nordberg aside and bolts off stage. Backstage, Ed sees this and gives chase. Tip O'Neill looks off stage and sees Mannheimer giving him the thumbs up. He's a little confused, but he's pleased.
Ah, yes. I see everything is to be okay now, and without further ado, I present to you once again
Interior hallway, Frank is coming too.
Dr. Albert S. Mannheimer.
And as the applause starts to build, Frank bolts for the stage. Angle, the real Dr. Mannheimer wheels himself on stage. The audience applauds, hoping he'll make it this time. Interior hallway, fake Mannheimer rushes past, being chased by Ed. Frank rushes up, missing them by seconds, and charges on toward the stage. Jane is relieved, but suddenly her expression changes to one of alarm. On stage, Frank rushes out to the stage.
Hold it. Hold everything. Stop. This man is a fraud and I can prove it.
What do you think you're doing?
Because the real Dr. Mannheimer has a birthmark right here.
This is some court jester shit right here. Frank rips Mannheimer's pants down, is surprised to see the Whistler's mother birthmark. Audience, a collective gasp, an appalling sight. Various reaction shots, including Jane, Commissioner Brumford, President and Mrs. Bush, and Tip O'Neill. Drebin! Frank.
Obviously a forgery. We'll see about this.
He takes out a Brillo pad from the box and begins to scrum Mannheimer's ass. Backstage, Ed appears with fake Mannheimer in handcuffs, sees the disaster on stage, slaps his forehead in disbelief, And on stage, plainclothes police rush on stage to grab Frank, who is now trying vainly to remove Whistler's mother from Meinheiser's ass with a drill sander. Angle on Ed. He bursts onto the stage.
Fraud here tonight. This man.
Nordberg drags out a reluctant fake Meinheimer in handcuffs. Ed produces a piece of paper.
And he's just given us a signed confession implicating that man.
He points to the audience, and the audience all turn to look. Angle on various tables, including Habsburg's. About 8 male guests rise to their feet, pull guns, and take female hostages. Angle on Ed. Perplexed, he waves them off.
No. That man. Quentin Habsburg.
Angle on men sheepishly put away their guns and sit back down. Habsburg's table, 2 empty chairs. Habsburg and Jane are gone. Interior hallway. Habsburg runs into frame with Jane in tow. They make an abrupt 1-foot slide in front of the open elevator door and rush in. As the doors close, a janitor enters and wet mops the floor. Continuing out toward the foreground, the old-fashioned indicator over the elevator shows it is going up to the highest level. In the background, we see Frank, Ed, and Nordberg run into frame, trying to stop in front of the open elevator doors, but no, they all slide out of frame.
Yeah.
Interior ballroom, Meinheimer is ready to speak.
I intend to share with you all my report of our need for a national policy based on the efficient use of energy and clean, renewable energy sources.
Baggett, Fenswick, and Dunwell are dismayed beyond relief. Exterior hotel rooftop, lots of machinery, air conditioners, pumps, giant fans, etc. Elevator doors open and Frank, Ed, and Nordberg step out. On the far side of the roof, a helicopter is ready to take off.
Frank, over there.
Frank looks to where Ed is indicating. Angle, Habsburg forcing Jane at gunpoint into the control room. Frank.
Not Jane.
Blam! A bullet ricochets off a girder just inches from Frank's head. He ducks behind a garbage can and fires back. Ed does likewise. Nordberg, bullets zing around him. He jams a clip into his 9mm pistol. He clips on an infrared scope and then a longer barrel. Thug, firing away, takes cover behind a garbage can. Frank is shooting away. The goon is shooting. Angle. Frank and the goon are only 3 feet apart. Nordberg is attaching more stuff to the pistol. It now resembles an M60 with an ammo belt threaded through. He's starting to mount it with on a huge turret. Goon. The goon's gun is out of bullets. He throws his gun at Frank. Frank throws his gun at the goon. They continue to throw guns at each other.
Cover me, I'm going in.
Frank charges in, firing 2 guns simultaneously a la Butch Cassidy. Control room door. The door is blown away. Frank stops, looks behind him. Frank's POV, Nordberg in World War II helmet, is mounted on what now looks like a World War II cannon with a crank-style turret and a spiderweb sight. Frank runs to the gaping hole in the control room wall. Interior control room. Frank bursts in, firing, leaps over a rail, landing 10 feet below. He kneels by a wounded goon. The room is quite smoky.
Where's Habsburg?
The goon screams out in pain.
Where you hit?
It's not that. You're on my groin.
Oh, I see. Okay, now where is he?
You're too late. Habsburg has plan B.
All right, who else is almost dead? All right, talk.
You're too late, Drebin.
He already said that.
Where do you leave off?
Habsburg has plan B.
Oh yeah, Habsburg has Plan B in control room.
Which control room? Where? Talk, you lowlife scum.
Gee, if that's your attitude, forget it. Fuck.
He dies.
This control room, Drebin. Drop your gun.
Frank looks up. It is Habsburg, pointing a gun at him. In his other hand, he's holding Jane. Her hands are tied behind her. Frank drops his gun.
I believe you were inquiring about Plan B.
Habsburg steps over to an immense computer bank. Lots of blinking lights, switches, and a big digital clock are visible.
That's where we detonate this small nuclear device.
Frank is shocked. He's thinking fast.
I see.
Your Dr. Meinheimer can talk all he wants to.
He punches in a bunch of numbers on the computer.
No one's going to be left alive in this building to hear it.
Insert computer display. The digital screen comes to life in the 10 o'clock or 10 minutes. Shows up on the top display, interior ballroom.
Simply improving the fuel efficiency of the average American car by 3 miles per gallon will eliminate all oil imports from Iraq and Kuwait.
Habsburg, he punches another button and starts sequencing backwards.
The sequence is now set. I'm the only one who knows the abort code. In exactly 10 minutes, this building and everyone in it will be reduced to a pile of rubble. I'll be safely on my helicopter. By this time tomorrow, I'll be hunting rhino in Botswana. What do you think of that, Drebin?
Well, you certainly seem to be in touch with your anger.
Habsburg, enraged, points the gun at Frank threateningly.
I don't care what you think, Drebin. You're not going to talk your way out of this one.
Go ahead, threaten me like you have the American people for so long, but it's not going to work anymore. You're part of a dying breed, Habsburg, like people who can name all 50 states.
Habsburg cocks the gun loudly.
Why, you?
The truth hurts, doesn't it, Habsburg? Oh, sure, maybe not as much as jumping on a bicycle with the seat missing, but it hurts.
Frank takes a step forward towards Habsburg.
That's as far as you go, Drebin. Now stand over there.
Frank has a trick up his sleeve.
Where?
Habsburg fell for it. He gestures with the gun and the barrel now pointing away from Frank.
There.
Frank grabs the gun. They struggle. Frank comes away with the gun.
Aha, how does it feel now, tough guy? Now get over to that control panel.
Which one?
That one.
Frank fell for it, gestures with the gun. Habsburg jumps him, comes away with the gun. He cocks it loudly again.
Any final requests, Lieutenant?
Yes, can I have the gun back?
Oh no, I'm not falling for that one again, Drebin.
Habsburg aims the gun at Drebin. Engel, Nordberg, in an overhead grid holding onto the rigging rope, poised to swing down.
Not so fast, y'all.
Good idea, but a bad aim. Damn it, Travis. Nordberg swoops Tarzan style right between Frank and Habsburg. There is a resounding thud as he slams into the back wall. He sticks there for a beat, then slowly slides down the wall. The diversion works. Frank knocks the gun out of Habsburg's hand and a fight ensues. Exciting fight music underscores this knockdown and dragged out punch out. Detonation will commence in 6 minutes. During the fight, Frank uses the groggy Nordberg to deflect punches in a bottle thrown at him. Frank throws Nordberg, a floppy dummy, at Habsburg. Habsburg throws him back. Jane, in the corner, bound and gagged, looks on, wide-eyed in terror. Engel. We see what's scaring her. A little white mouse is wrinkling his nose at her from a nearby shelf. Habsburg charges Frank. Frank gets in a good punch and Habsburg on his back, out a window. Exterior, hotel window ledge. Looking down on the busy street below, it's Times Square. Frank's hands are choking Habsburg.
All right, now talk. Give me that abort code.
All right. There are 6 numbers. 7, 3.
Engel on the door. Ed bursts in, sees Frank struggling with Habsburg. He rushes over, grabs his legs, and upends him over the sill.
Ah!
Thanks a lot.
I'll do the same for you, Frank.
Exterior hotel. Habsburg takes a 10-story plunge but lands in the hotel awning and rolls off, landing on the sidewalk unhurt. He can't believe his luck. He turns to go, but is horrified at what he sees. Habsburg's POV. He's face to face with a snarling lion. One big leap and he's all over Habsburg. Bystanders turn away and Tom Landry style winces. A patrol car passes by. The cops wince. Camera pans bystanders and the vulture is perched on the back of a bench. Oh shit, you just got eaten by a lion, bro. Oh shit. Interior control room. Near window. Frank's just witnessed Habsburg's mauling. He shakes his head.
1,000,000 to 1 shot.
Now we hear all sorts of sirens and klaxon horns triggered by the computer countdown. Frank rushes over to Jane, unties her. Ed helps Nordberg to his feet.
Jane, are you all right?
Yes, are you okay?
Yeah. But unless this computer can be disarmed in less than 5 minutes, this whole building is going to blow.
My God. We gotta warn everybody. Come on.
Right.
He starts to follow Ed out the door while the computer continues its countdown.
Frank, you're supposed to disarm the bomb.
Oh, yes, right. Jane, you better go with them.
No, Frank, I'm staying here with you.
There is a moment, and they gaze at each other. Frank and Jane love seeing plays.
But Jane,
Frank, if you're going to be blown to bits, I want to be here with you.
Okay, cool, great. Frank, not entirely sure he wants to be here. Me either, Frank. Ed and Nordberg bolt out of there. Frank turns to the complicated machinery and pores over it. The screen now reads 4 minutes.
Frank, is
Got
there
4
anything
minutes
I
to
can
save the
do?
world.
well, if we get out of this alive, you can give me a nice loofah bath.
She pulls a paper booklet out of the side of the machine.
Here, I found this instruction booklet conveniently hidden right next to the machine.
Good. What does it say?
Frank presses buttons, turns switches. The number sequence continues on screen. Nothing is working.
Congratulations on your purchase of the ACM-500DX bomb detonation system. You've joined thousands of others who've had the confidence in this product, the result of years of extensive research.
Jane, we're running out of time here.
Okay, I'm trying. All right, let me see here. Technical nuclear device, 20 square blocks vaporized, blah, 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 blah. Nuclear winter, crater a mile deep.
Jane, is there anything there that can help us?
The bomb will detonate in 3 minutes.
Oh, here it is. To reset detonation code, first press the pound sign.
Frank does so. A loud honking alarm starts. Per your commands, the speed of the sequence has been greatly increased. Detonation now in 2 minutes. I'd hurry up if I were you. I can't stand this noise either. Frank shoots Jane a look. Nice going. Interior ballroom. Dr. Meinheimer is just finishing up his speech.
Thus, for the price of one B-1 bomber, we could lower the cost of solar panels by 90%.
Angle on the audience. Sound asleep. The delegates are slouched over, draped over other people's laps, hanging off of the backs of chairs, drooling unconsciously, etc. Some have been using those airplane blow-up pillow collars. Others have been rolling themselves up in blankets, wearing airline sleeping blindfolds. Angle on the door. Ed and Nordberg barge in. They're stunned to find everyone asleep. They desperately try to wake everyone up.
For God's sake, wake up! This place is gonna blow.
It's no use. These people are comatose. And Ed spots the source of the anesthetic. Angle on Meinheimer.
And so I say to all of you, each and every one, if we simply follow these 106 points, not only will the Earth be a better place to live in, but we will also finally break the chains that bind us to the slavery of fossil fuels and nuclear nightmare.
Excuse me. Ed leaps on the stage. Ooh, hold, please. All right. And he snatches Dr. Meinheimer's text. From him, he reaches into his pocket and digs out the paperback he snitched from the Le Sex shop. Insert book cover. Stroking the love muffin. Resume. Oh, I'm sorry. Resume. I've just been sending out too many resumes, so that's all I read. Anyway, Ed and Meinheimer.
Here, read this. It's an emergency.
And Meinheimer is puzzled, but he obeys.
His strong, manly hands probed every crevice of her silken femininity, their undulating bodies rising in sensual rhythm as he thrust his purple-headed warrior into a quivering mound of love pudding.
Angle on the audience, the dozing masses spring to life. Angle on Nordberg.
All right, now listen, everyone. I want you to calmly file towards the exits.
Angle on the audience, everyone is doing nicely as they exit. And angle on Meinheimer, reading to himself rashly, eyes bulging.
If we just stay calm, no one will be harmed by the huge bomb that's going to explode any minute.
Ed slaps his forehead in disbelief. Me too, Ed. Angle on audience. Complete mayhem. Mass panic ensues. Interior control room. An NBA 24-second clock mounted on the back of a detonator starts the countdown. Frank pries open the entire control panel. A mass of whirling gears and wires. He pulls at the wires. Sparks everywhere. His sleeves get caught in the gears. 10 seconds. It looks bad now. 9. Uh-oh. 8. 7. Besides the sleeve, Frank's tie and entire jacket are jammed in the gears and being pulled off his body, consumed by the jaw-like gears of the machine.
Quick, Jane, throw it something.
Jane picks up a side of beef and tosses it into the ravenous beast. It makes a sucking, slurping sound, then burps. Someone, anybody, bleh, whatever. All right. 6 and a half. Thank you. 6 and a quarter. 6 and an eighth. Come on, hurry. I may be a machine, but I still have feelings too. 5. Frank's jacket is ripped from his body and wrapped around the gears. Time is running out. Frank braces his foot against the rotating gears. Now his pants are being ripped off of him. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, help, 2, 1. Frank grabs Jane.
Let's get out of here.
They head for the door. On the way, Frank trips over an electrical cord, pulling the plug out of the wall, and the huge machine shuts down.
Frank, you did it.
Well,
They embrace. Wind blows her hair. Exterior hotel. The television reporter is reporting from the scene.
According to security officials, the danger to the president is now over and the building has been secured.
In the background, we see the bomb being gingerly carried out of the building by the bomb squad on a special stretcher.
Evidently due to the heroic efforts of a visiting police lieutenant from Los Angeles.
The bomb accidentally falls off the side of the stretcher. The bomb squad guys scatter, leaving the reporter droning on.
I've just been informed that the president's ready with a statement, and so we'll go back inside to the press club dinner.
Interior hotel ballroom. On the podium, Frank, Jane, and Eden Nordberg are acknowledging the outstanding ovation. A standing ovation. Hello, we can read. Next to him are the president and Mrs. Bush and Dr. Meinheimer.
thank you, Mr. President, for those kind words, but it's all part of the job.
More applause.
And Frank, I'd like you to consider filling a special post I'm going to create. I want you to head up a new federal bureau, a police squad.
Frank is taken aback.
Oh, it's a great honor, Frank.
It's what you've always wanted. Congratulations.
No, I'm afraid I'll have to turn down your offer, Mr. President.
Jane is surprised. We hear the love theme creep in. Frank is now addressing the entire audience.
You see, I learned something this week about the earth and about love. I guess love is like the ozone layer.
He looks at Jane.
You never miss it till it's gone.
He turns back to the audience and Jane listens in tears.
Blowing away a fleeing suspect with a .44 Magnum used to be everything to me, and I enjoyed it. Who wouldn't? But now I want to be known as the environmental police lieutenant.
The audience applauds heartily. Jane can't believe what she's hearing. Triumphant music begins under Frank's speech.
I want a world where Frank Jr. and all the Frank Jr.'s can sit under a shade tree, breathe the air, swim in the oceans, and go into a 7-Eleven without an interpreter. I want a world where we don't need Ed Asner and Valerie Harper. A world where I can eat a sea otter without getting sick. I want the Democrats to put someone up there I can vote for. And I want people to stop naming their kids Jason and Tiffany. And most of all, I want to wake up each morning with this woman who I love.
He puts his arm around Barbara Bush and he realizes his mistake a little too late.
Yikes. I'm sorry, Mr. President.
He turns the other way to Jane, shouting above the cheering crowd.
Jane, will you marry me?
Of course I'll marry you.
They embrace, and the audience is now in an uproar of thunderous applause. Fuckers. Balloons are now released. The band strikes up. Happy days are here again. I don't remember how that actually goes, but anyway, whatever. High school cheerleaders with those convention straw hats and buttons come on. In the audience, huge pictures appear of Frank, along with signs on sticks with state names on them. Frank and Jane hold up their hands together in a party convention finale. Bush is not completely sure what he has just allied himself with, but he goes with it anyway. Lots of confetti is thrown to facilitate this next cut, reminiscent of a young, Anyway, exterior church. Frank and Jane exit the church. They are immediately pelted by confetti and rice cakes thrown by the joyous throng, including Ed and the other police squatters. They just make their way to the waiting electric car, a just married sign on the trunk. Come on, hybrid. Nordberg. Meanwhile, Nordberg mysteriously tiptoes to the back of the car with the usual string of shoes and cans, etc. He stoops down to tie them to the bumper just as Frank puts his right arm over the seat and looks back throughout the clear rear window and then backs up. Nordberg, the car rolls over Nordberg. Interior car, Frank gives Jane a smile and a wink, I'm guessing. And then exterior car, it peels out. Big end music. Nordberg's legs are trailing out the back as the happy car pulls away. Camera cranes up and comes to rest on a road sign saying, "Caution, potholes the next 20 miles.
No.
The end. I just literally just want to like show
That's
that.
amazing.
I
Well
know, I'm
done.
sorry. I was trying to convert it, but you did great.
No,
All right, well, thank you.
said it was going to be bad. I knew it.
Thank you, everyone, and good night.